Welcome to the Missouri Woods and Water Podcast. Got Nate, Micah here.
What's up?
We got our friend Kevin Robinson.
He did it again.
What?
Kevin Robbins.
Robbins. Okay, my bad. We'll roll
Everybody on YouTube land, we were on take 2, and he said Robinson the first time too.
It's a common mistake.
I mean, I know Kevin.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, that's
I
all.
don't
We
say
don't
your
really
last
need
name.
last names very
Yeah,
often.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
We're rolling this time.
Yeah.
We're in a cool place, a place that I actually regretfully have not been to until this last Saturday. This spot.
Yes.
This new shop.
Yep.
So we are in Kevin's shop here, Aerodynamics, just outside of Warrensburg, Odessa area. And how old is this shop itself?
We opened this shop in January.
January, yeah.
So
I knew
not
it was,
even a year yet.
No,
so,
real fresh.
Yeah.
That's
Still
awesome.
smells new in here.
It looks great. I like the setup, the Kwanzaa hut style. It works out great for a bow shop.
Well, the idea of the whole place was to fit the range in here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
First and foremost, because that's what we were lacking in the old building was a place to test broadhead flight tuning,
Right.
the bows. We had a little 7-yard range over there for tuning and
Yeah, I
stuff
remember
like that. But this adds a whole new level to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're happy with it.
It's awesome. You got what, 40? Is it 45-ish?
Yeah, from our shooting line, it's about 45. We can stretch it to 50 if we need to do some broadhead tuning and there's nobody else in here. But
Right. Yeah, because those 9 lanes right there move.
They do.
swing. They swing back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if people can see that on YouTube World
Probably
or not,
not.
but
That's
there's
a
some
little
lanes
further
back
out
there.
there.
I think they can. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Our show is going to be with Kevin. We're going to talk about basically some common archery mistakes. Kevin is a archery savant. Let's just say that.
Technician.
I've
Wait.
learned from some really, really good guys in the industry.
There you go.
So let's say that. Yeah.
Savant from
Yep.
other people. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today in general. But first, we're going to talk about Kevin's story, where he's from, and then just kind of the story of aerodynamics, how it started. Just because we weren't there for the whole thing, but
Sure.
we were kind of outsiders there as customers.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to know, kind of how this ended up. So, Kevin, tell us your story. Where are you from?
Yeah. So
and
my
then
name's
obviously tell
Kevin
us a little bit.
Robbins. Obviously.
Robbins.
Yeah, it would have been funny if you said Robinson. I mean Robbins.
Robbins.
Yeah, so I've lived in Warrensburg here my whole life. Long story short, when I was 16, I walked in an archery shop and asked for a job. They gave it to me at Evolved Archery here in Warrensburg.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that was running the place at the time was Frank Iupa, which
Shout out
you
to
guys
Frank.
Yeah.
both know.
You know what's funny is Frank's been on the show.
Yep.
Much
time
longer
ago.
away than I thought it was.
That was our first year.
It was our first year, and I feel like, I feel like we've had him on several times, and then you got to remember to keep you feel like a jerk always asking, to come on our show because it's not like it's doing anything for the guest other than it's cool to do a podcast.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, damn, it's been a while. We need to have Frank on again.
Yeah.
And I saw Frank on Saturday when we were in here with my son. But anyway, yeah, Frank Iupa, who is the guy we trusted with our bows for a long time.
Yeah, same story with a lot of guys around
Right.
here. And so I'll back up just a little bit. I did shoot local competitive archery around here for quite a while and ran into Frank before the bow shop.
Okay.
So it wasn't like you just I'm going to start working at a bow shop.
No,
You kinda,
yeah, so me and a couple buddies, we'd shoot 5-spot in Vegas rounds in their basement, get really good, shoot 3Ds, and we had a great time with it.
Yeah.
We ran into guys like Frank and Eric Camp and Kelly Dorr and the Griggses, and the list goes on and on about all these guys around here that shot 3D and local legends and things like that. But when it came down to the end of the day, Frank was at the archery shop when I started there. And so that kind of led into all this, I'll say, I guess. Frank taught me literally everything I know, from zero to where we're at today with this bow shop.
Mm-hmm.
So Evolved Archery was a great place for me. Worked there all through high school. Toward the end of things, Frank kind of moved over to the other stuff that company was doing in the same building there, and they left me with a lot of the in-charge stuff. I won't say I was completely in charge, but ran a lot of it for him. Ended up building a lot of strings, which if a guy wants to learn bow mechanics and how to get one to shoot right or problems with a bow, building strings is the best way. You learn about string material, string stretch, string construction, how that all plays a factor into the bow, spec of the bow, axle, brace height,
Right.
how a bow shoots, performs, how forgiving it is. So that kind of took it to a whole nother level at that point. I wasn't just a guy bolting on parts anymore. I was building the pieces to make the bow perform. That was all fine and dandy. Ended up leaving there, going on to do some other things. I actually welded on the road for a while, pipe welder and some chemical plants and things like that. And I ended up working.
Did you go to that welding school?
Yes.
In Nevada?
MWI.
Okay, that's right. I remember.
You go with Russell?
Remember this? No, I remember talking to you about going down there. You were a senior in high school.
Yep.
Because you were still working there, and I was in there. I don't remember what I was buying or having Frank do, and you were talking about going down there. And my brother-in-law had already been to that school before.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we just kind of talking to this freaking kid.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was right around the
that.
time with the transition where they moved Frank into some other things, and I was kind of taking more of the shop on.
Yep.
But anyway, went and did that, and what was really cool about that was I was able to work for, well, probably 6 to 8 months out of the year most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was back, I'd pop back into Evolved and help them out with things. They would rack up a bunch of strings after Frank left, and I'd come in there and put them on, or set up a bow for a guy, or what have you, whatever they had techie-wise. They went
out,
yeah, because they went through a few guys there for a while and kept it open, and I helped them a little bit and what have you. But in that interim, in that meantime there, I got put on Elite's, what they call their dealer advisory staff, right? So what that meant for me was I was tied to Evolved, essentially. So when they needed something, I was the guy to go there to help them out. And
Gotcha.
that was through Elite. I got a bow and some other stuff, and it was a cool gig because it kept me involved.
Right.
Even though I wasn't directly involved with the bow shop, it kept me involved with like what was coming out, the new stuff, staying up to date on the tuning, because that was during the time where all these bows really became really tunable.
Right.
And just took that for all it was worth. Still shot 3D and kept my foot in the door there and things like that. And then when I got the job up here in Kansas City, where we went from working 6-8 months, we were working 80-hour weeks, or 65 to 80-hour weeks, and now I'm in Kansas City and we're working 40. Well, that kind of opened the door for me to say, I'd like to get back into this a little bit. I've got some time now, essentially, is what it was. And with Frank as my guy who taught me everything, and then still a good friend and a hunting partner, it made it super easy for us to open this up, and he played a big role in that as well. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's where I said, like, we, kind of felt like we were part of it, not like we are at all, but, like, that's where I remember when I first got into archery, that's where my brother-in-law told me to go.
Yep.
And so I bought that Bowtech Assassin from him, took it into Frank. Frank restrung it for me, or whatever he did. I can't remember all the stuff he did. Got it set up for me. I didn't know anything. I didn't grow up shooting a bow, so I was about the age you were, going to welding school when I started shooting. So when I bought that from Russell, it was just, I don't know what I'm doing. Frank showed me everything. Literally showed me, how to shoot correctly, how to hold the bow correctly. I thought I knew some things, but it was all just watching Russell.
Sure.
So, it wasn't really founded in anything. It was just like, okay, I see him doing that. I see him doing this, that sort of stuff. So, Frank, so I trusted everything I did was, with Frank and then the people who worked for him, which ended up being you. There was another guy there that I thought was really cool too at the time. I do not remember his name, but, and so when it closed, like, we found ourselves like,
Don't have a shop no more.
like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Because,
and that was a lot of guys in this area, and so I should back up a little bit. I kept my foot in the door with the dealer advisory staff, and so, and Frank got this as well. When we left the bow shop, we still ended up being the guys that most guys called when they needed something, right?
Yeah.
More so Frank than me, but I had a bow press in the shop here at my house, and so kind of what pushed me into this more than anything is, like, during the fall months, September, October, November, I ended up taking phone calls from all the guys that knew me from the shop and working on their stuff, because the bow shop just ceased to exist, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And so it got to the point where it was like I was taking care of 5-6 guys a week, and there's doing that work and doing it well and fixing problems that somebody else paid for. Man, that just gets frustrating at the end of the day. Like, and so that's another reason we pushed into this, was like, let's open it up, let's do it right, let's make sure that everybody who wants access to it can get access to it.
Yeah.
So that was a big push for us too.
That's kind of like where I was. I didn't trust anybody anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have any bad experiences. It's not like I went to some
No.
other archery shop and I was like, okay, they screwed it up. But I remember I bought some targets from a shop in Sedalia, John. Nice guy. Go in
Oh,
there.
I
and I'm
like John.
Oh man,
yeah,
John.
I've dealt with John a lot.
Bought a bunch of targets, the wolves and all this stuff. I'm like, why are you selling all this? He's like, going out of business. And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
I thought I found like, hey, Sedalia's not that much further,
Yeah.
than Warrensburg. I
Yeah.
could figure that
And
And
out.
there was guys in the area,
Yeah.
and there was, we mentioned Doug earlier, Doug Hutchinson,
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal bow technician. And when we were building strings, actually, Frank and me pulled a lot of knowledge from Doug
Yeah.
to build those strings. So there was guys around. They were kind of spread far and thin, and
Well, and like Doug doesn't love a lot of attention. Like he's not like he's not an active advertiser. He's not a bow shop.
no,
He
no,
doesn't
no.
sell bows. He
Builds
literally-
custom strings and tunes bows.
That's him.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not, there's some people that want a one-stop shop where they come in, they pick out the bow, they got the guy that works on it,
Yep.
they can get releases, whatever else, ask questions.
And
figure
that's
out how to-
ideal, right? Because when you
That is
buy a new
ideal,
bow,
yeah.
the setup is about 90% of what makes that bow do what it needs to do.
Picking out the pretty bow is just the
Yeah,
That's the
I mean,
easy
tip of
part.
the iceberg.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you, and I guess the other thing I should say is that should come as a service with the bow purchase,
sure.
and that's maybe what kind of got guys a little bit there when Evolved when me and Frank left Evolved was you could go places and buy a bow, but then you had to take it to a secondary guy to get it tuned,
Right.
and a secondary guy to get strings. And by the time you got done with all that, you were paying 4 or 5 guys to get it done right.
Yeah.
And
Which
so
increases the cost that much more.
exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe that wasn't the case for everybody, but I saw it a lot in Warrensburg, especially.
Yeah.
So
And there's certain people that, like me specifically, like I have no problem paying people for what they're good at.
Yeah.
So like me, I'd go, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go buy the bow here because that's what I want. And then, I'd have no problem going and, paying Doug what he charges to do certain things to make sure I'm set up right. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, that $700 bow is now $1,700.
Where are you getting a $700 bow
Well,
at? That's what
I'm thinking like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
yeah, back when I started in the shop, heck, $700 bow was a flagship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
What are
Yeah.
they now? 12, 15,
Yeah,
somewhere in there?
Yeah, you can pretty well bet that they're going to be between 13 and 15.
I know my Arrow was like 1,200, somewhere in there, I think.
Your what?
The Elite era.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, but it's those people that are willing to like give you, their professional work
Sure.
with everything that you are doing. It's just, and it makes it easier. Like nobody wants to drive to 15 different places to get something done. Which, charge people for what you are good at. Saturday I told you what he did.
Yeah.
He was so nice about it, but I'm like, no, dude, make me pay next time.
Yeah.
But
no.
it was just not, it was cool to hear. And I didn't really know you that well. I knew you from just seeing you a few times at the bow shop
Right.
with Frank, and I'm like, oh, okay. Then I saw you at the Show Me Whitetails banquet the first year they had it out here at the Johnson. Not this first year, the second year.
Right.
At the Johnston County Fairgrounds.
Yep.
I'm like, I know you.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talking a little bit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's how I remember
It's
you.
funny how many of those guys I run into. They're like, I know you
Yeah.
From
from
something, yeah.
somewhere, and I was the kid at Evolved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how.
So-
Like I'm like, because I'll never forget a face. So it's like I know who you are. How do I know you? And none of this made sense to me. The aerodynamics didn't make sense to me. And then we started talking, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then you talked about where you were opening it, and I just kind of, I was like, that's cool. And then I kind of noticed it's not far from where I live. Stopped into the old shop just to check it out one time. Brought my son back to get his bow redone, and it's kind of one of them deals where now I'm like, this is nice because for a guy like me, I am literally 10, 15 minutes down the road from you.
Sure.
So for me, it's great. It kind of worked out perfectly for me. Micah's not even that far. What I like is it's a short drive from the city.
Yep.
It's an easy drive from the city.
And we get a lot of guys from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Well, you got the full range, which is nice. Some of the shops, they don't have where you can actually shoot your bow,
Sure.
out to yardage.
Or they have like what you had at the old
Yeah.
shop, just like,
Yeah.
7-10 yards. Hey, I can shoot it to see how I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tuning purposes
Right.
kind of thing.
And
Right.
not only does he have a range, I mean, you have leagues and
Yeah,
all
we
kinds
host
of stuff.
events and all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. But I'll tell you, the tuning thing, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. But what I found was I could get a guy tuning that old shop at 7 yards, and that was fine and dandy. but I couldn't be there to verify that his broadheads hit at 50.
Right.
And that bugged me. Like, you send a guy home and you might not see him again for 6 months, and you just be laying in bed and be like, man, I hope that guy's broadheads hit. Like, and you can do so much. Like, we can bare shaft tune and make it perfect, but at the end of the day, he gets home and it's hitting off for him, or you can't be there with him and say, hey, your grip's a little different this time, or you're doing this, or face pressure, or whatever.
Yeah.
It just kind of, it didn't put a cap on the service aspect of the shop like I wanted it to, and now we have it. Like Saturday was a prime example. I had a guy drive in from Jeff City to get his bow tuned. We sat here for 3 hours while I was working on other customer stuff, and we just walked his broadheads right into his field points.
Oh, the fellow with his son here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, he ended up hitting one of his broadheads.
Yeah,
with a field
I mean,
point.
at the end of it, they were stacking at $50.
Oh, that's
yeah, he
great.
was here. Well, I came, took the boys to lunch, and then came back because he was just slammed. And
Right.
he was by himself on Saturday, which he's normally not. But
Yeah.
and so he was like, I was like, dude, I'm not in a hurry. You know, I can come back. And so
Right.
I came back, and then the whole time we were there, this guy was shooting. And then I let my son shoot for a while after his got set up. And the guy's like, what do I do? And you're like, I'm replacing that one anyway. But before we go all the way down, let's run these sponsors through real quick.
Okay.
Kevin, you can feel free to interject on any of these if you
Sure.
want. But so we're on evens this year, or I'll just say them. So, but Morel Targets, we talked about targets this weekend. Good folks out there in Arkansas. Good stuff. I actually I just got their 3D transformer buck, which they don't do a lot of 3D targets.
Almost zero as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
They just
the,
have
the
the one.
transformer buck,
Yeah,
which is
one.
basically, have you messed with it ever?
I haven't.
It's so think of a 3D deer, and it's basically the middle is the high roller material, and you can take it out and then just use that
Yeah.
for a target, and then you put it back in. And
I think
it's
I have
the-
seen
the
that.
buck.
Yeah.
It's got red eyes.
Yeah.
You know, the Morel.
I've been down there to the
colors.
factory, actually. I
Yeah,
went
down
down
in
and picked up
Arkansas.
some bag targets. They're good folks down there. Absolutely.
Yeah, good folks down
I
there.
love them out
Salted
there.
Earth. So check them out, Morel Targets. You should be putting holes in yours right now. Huntworth Gear, use our code MWW15 for 15% off. We were in here on Saturday actually talking about camo patterns. My
Talking
son,
shit
my
on
son,
every
my
camo.
son really likes that camo pattern right there behind us.
One that won't be named.
And I'm like, no, we're not wearing that. Which I don't want to, because I think Kevin does wear that.
No, I don't.
Oh, you
actually.
don't? Okay, I was going to say, I know at one point I thought you did, so I don't want to mess with you too much.
Nope.
And I used to wear it too. But Huntworth, awesome quality.
Yeah,
at
we got
an
our new
affordable
silent
price.
stuff in. So, was it
I haven't
Silent
even
X?
opened mine up
Dude,
yet.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I got it out, messed with it a little bit. It's
Soft
pretty sweet.
fleece.
Yeah,
It's
I'd like to
still-
see it sometime.
Still the Gore-Tex, still windproof. Hotter than hell. You know, it's not something I'd be wearing anytime before it gets cold out. But it kind of reminds me back when I did wear the S word stuff. What was that called?
I don't know, man. I never
Damn
wore
it. It was I think it was called the Stratus jacket, and it was like a marshmallow. It was like a big puffy marshmallow, but it freaking worked.
Right.
I will say that. And so this stuff just as good. So check them out. Morel Targets, or not Morel Targets, Huntworth Gear, Black Ovis. Use our code MWW10 for 10% off. I think that it's done, so you're no longer getting 20%. But
Right, that
that's
in
cool.
August.
Our T-shirt with them is still going to happen. Just been put on hold for a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be a coyote-related theme T-shirt with Dustin Datilio. Have you heard of him?
I think I have.
He's an artist. He does
He does a lot of
Stephanie's
Yep,
books.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's an artist that he's going to kind of do a design on a T-shirt collab we're doing with Black Ovis, so that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
And then Camo Fire, check out the app. All kinds of cool crap that you can sometimes score a deal on. I used to piss my wife off a lot with Camo Fire. On X, you were probably on that quite a bit a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Use our code MWW20, 20% off. Got to go to the website. But were you in service where you were hunting?
No, I use
So you had to
offline maps the whole
download
time.
them.
Yep. Invaluable.
What was
by
one of
the
your
way.
favorite features offline?
I don't know that I have a favorite feature. The fact that I can get maps when I can't make a phone call is pretty big. Like, just
Yeah.
put that out there.
I still think my favorite feature is the facing. I don't know what to call it. So you
The
can
compass.
Is it the compass?
I don't know, but
Basically, wherever my phone's facing is which way the map is facing. It's got the little blue. That my brain works the best that way. You know, like when I've got north facing. Okay, I'm like, all right, well that's north. I want to go that way, but make sure. Yeah, okay. It's just nice because I can just be like, yep, I thought I wanted to go that way and just face that way. That's probably my favorite feature.
I do a lot of the tracking on there, especially
yeah.
like so it follows your path, right, and
Yeah.
let you know that's the path you took. In the mountains, it's crazy good.
I do like, though, when you sit for a long time, it sits there just
Little circle.
right.
Like,
I was not walking around right now. But yeah, the tracking's nice. Athlon Optics, actually using an Athlon tripod right there with our camera. All kinds of awesome optics when it comes to rifles, things like that. So I don't think they do anything with archery. You never know.
No, I don't
We
think so.
could convince them to maybe make a bow sight. But check them out, Athlon Optics, and then Hux Works, great suppressors, flow-through technology. We should be having a show with them at some point before rifle season, but I've said a lot of things this year that haven't happened. So check them out. And then I think that, Habitat Works, Dustin Williams. Have you met Dustin?
No, I haven't.
Genius. Dude is
If you ever have any questions about land and land management, he's the guy to go to.
Okay.
get with us. We'll get you with him. He's smart. And then lastly, Reveal Cameras by Tacticam. We put 2 new cameras out at a new hunting spot we got.
Yep.
And just started getting some
Seen one of
photos.
the biggest
6
body
points in my life.
His body on it, he looked like almost like a 5 or 6 year old just with his body, but his rack wasn't nothing.
He's a 6 point. It's
Yeah.
a 6-pointer.
Yeah.
He's got a little crab claw thing.
Something.
But yeah. So I can't tell you I really ever seen a pure 6.
Not like that.
Like it's a mature like deer.
Right.
That's a 6-pointer.
Yeah,
It's
kinda
just
odd.
weird in this area. So anyway, thanks to our sponsors for helping us do the stuff that we're doing with Kevin right now. So the topic today is common archery mistakes. We're going to talk about we can probably just start with like setup and then even shooting too.
Sure.
You know, because I've made these mistakes.
I've made these
when
mistakes.
I thought that I was like right, I guess, if I'm trying to say that, like I felt like I was doing something right, and then I get in front of Doug or Frank, years ago,
And they tell you,
and
you're
they're
doing
like,
that wrong.
hey, why don't you try this? I'm like, oh, okay. Especially with shooting form, things like that. And, of course, there's all kinds of different releases and different things. We can talk about what you prefer, what you like.
Sure.
But let's talk about just setup first. So a new guy or girl walks in that wants to buy a bow. We're looking at your wall back here. I don't know if any of those are visible, but, there's a couple dozen bows hanging there. If I don't know anything about bows, what's the first thing I need to learn? Because looking at all these, I'm just going to look at which one looks cool to me, right?
Sure.
Like that's the first thing that would draw me. I'd be like, well, that one's cool looking.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody the first thing they need to look at when it's like, okay, I don't want to make a mistake picking out something that's going to cost me, let's just say $1,000 on average. What should they look for? Like, what are mistakes you see with someone that comes in and like, this isn't for you. This isn't the right one.
Sure. I would say draw length range is the biggest factor for me when it comes to like what bow we want to put you in, and mostly for like axle to axle purposes.
Hmm.
So string angle is it's underrated in the industry as far as I think. I think the flatter you can get that string angle to your face, the better. So like my general rule of thumb is if a guy's over 29 inches of draw length, I generally like to put him in something that's 32 inches axle to axle or bigger.
Mm-hmm.
That keeps that string angle flat. It keeps the peep closer to your face, makes it easier to align in the time of, hey, we need to shoot something. It also, that peep closer to your face doesn't let the peep black hole on you as bad in the low light. So the further you get that peep away from your face, you can imagine that it gets harder to see.
Harder and harder to see, yeah.
What happened to my damn peep?
Yeah.
So, and we're talking margins here on string angle, but it's something.
Yeah.
And so that's a big factor. I would say if a guy's in like the 27 to 28 range, he's got both options. They're open to him. I don't see any downside to going to a longer axle to axle bow ever. But if you're a blind hunter or worried about it in a saddle or what have you, you could go to that shorter axle to axle and be okay.
And that's something Frank kind of taught me when I first started looking. My first bow was a Bowtech Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
That is a short axle to axle bow. Not made anymore. What the newest version is now 14 years old at this point. I think 2011 was the last year.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And it was a 30-inch axle to axle bow, and I loved it for 2 reasons. Number one, it was light at the time, and then it was small.
Right.
So going out west, I didn't have to worry about something damn near as tall as me, going over deadfall, things like that. For me, that was a huge thing, and I've always just kind of stuck with shorter axle to axle bows since then because I just like it. Now, my newest bow, the Era, is bigger than that,
31 and some change or 32.
but I don't really notice it. It wasn't enough. Plus the cams are so much bigger. I mean
That's just all
the
the bows
Bowtech
now,
Assassin
though.
was like that.
Sure.
It's just a totally different type of bow at the time. Split limbs compared to not. Lots of differences, but I've liked something big for me. I don't know that I would like as much just because
You're a little guy.
I'm a little fella. Would it work? Probably just as well. It's just something like Andy shooting something 32 inches or bigger is no big deal. Dude's 6'7".
Right.
I get that. But, a guy like me, it was just I learned that, and someone taught me that at least.
Sure.
If I'm sitting here at 5'7", which is what I am, with a 27-inch draw, now officially shorter than my son's draw, by the way. Thanks for that, by the way, Saturday.
You're welcome.
You couldn't have just left it alone at 27. No, I'm just kidding. And, the first thing you put me in is a 34. Would it work? Probably, but would I feel comfortable?
Right.
Maybe not.
Well, Nate, maybe I portrayed that wrong. I don't think there's a downside for you shorter guys going to a longer axle to axle.
No, it's
There's
just the
downside
personal
for the
preference.
taller guys.
Correct.
Yes.
The taller guys going to
Yeah.
the shorter for sure. Yeah.
Like if we have a draw length over 29 inches and we go to a 29-inch bow, the tuning, the sight range, like how much range you're actually going to get out of your slider sight, the peep distance, that all comes into play, and it usually causes, not a catastrophe, but it causes some issues through the setup.
Yeah.
And we can fight past those and do some things like higher peep height, sight closer into the bow, and kind of Band-Aid some stuff to get it there.
But ideally, don't want to do that.
Yeah, and 29's kind of right in that sweet spot where you can go either way too, but I would say 30's like the cutoff, man. If you got a 30-inch draw, we need to be in a 32-inch bow or bigger.
Like,
And no,
almost
you-
to the point like, no, I'm not going to sell you that bow. You need this
Yeah.
bow,
Right.
or this style,
Right.
or
And I'll never say that to anybody that knows what they want, but if somebody comes in and asks for my opinion, that's it. Like
Yeah.
I grab the long bows off the shelf. That's
Yeah.
it.
And no, you didn't say
Makes
it
sense.
backwards. I knew exactly what you're
Okay.
saying. It was just like Frank educated me that I have options.
You do.
I liked the shorter one just because I liked it.
Yeah.
Whereas Andy doesn't really. I mean, he has options. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
But wouldn't he look hilarious in a freaking little ass bow?
Oh, he would.
He looks hilarious in a 34-inch axle bow.
I've got some customers that are like 32 and a half, 33-inch draw guys, and
That's him.
they're shooting 36-inch axle bows, and every time I see them shoot them, I'm like,
Still
man,
looks
that
like a toy.
looks like a 30-inch bow in my hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's him. I think his is a 34 now. He's got a Bowtech
I can't remember what he's got.
SS34, I believe is what it is.
Something like that.
Can't remember for sure, and he's a lefty, so that even makes it funnier. Dude with a 32.5-inch draw that's left-handed. Good luck selling a bow, man.
Yeah. You're stuck with that one for
Yeah.
life.
I think he's got about 4 of them, doesn't he,
Yeah.
sitting at home? But, it's like he doesn't really – I mean, he has those options, but because of what you're talking about, you got to think about let's just say a 30-inch axle bow, how steep that string would be for a guy like him.
Sure. Its stability plays a factor in it, too.
Yeah.
The longer that riser is from your body, the more riser you need to calm it down. And I struggle with this just as much as the next guy is like getting a bow to aim good. And there's some things you can do to get it there, but the first consideration off the shelf is like riser length. If you can get a bow with a longer riser, it generally holds better. Just a rule of thumb, if anybody's
Makes sense.
wondering.
A little more
See, I've
stable.
never shot like a huge, like I have the Omnia now, and it shoots pretty good and stuff. It's not my favorite bow that I've ever had. My favorite one was a Matthews Adrenaline. That thing, it just was money for me for
Right.
some reason. And then I went to the Triax, got that from Frank. Wasn't a huge fan of it. I think the marketing just got me on that one. Like
That was the big
Fair.
one.
That was
Yeah.
the big one that year, and I was like, I gotta have it. And Frank was like, "You sure you want to do this one?" I was like, "Yep, that's the one I want."
That's what I'm getting.
Didn't even try any of the other bows. which was
I
cool.
believe he wanted you to shoot the new Bowtech that year too.
Yeah, something like that.
What is it? The Realm.
I can't remember what it was. That's been 7-8 years ago.
This is a perfect example, by the way, of Frank back then. Russell bought a new bow from him, and him and that bow did not get along. I don't remember what it was. It was a Bowtech.
Yeah.
And Frank went through, he took it to Frank several times, and Frank would go through things with him. Do you like this? Do you not like that? Do you like this? Do you not like that? And sometimes it's just like a marriage that really wasn't meant to be.
Sure.
Like he ended up buying a different bow from Frank. Was a Matthews. Can't remember which one it is. It's the same year
Traverse?
you bought your Triax.
Traverse.
Traverse.
That's
Loves
right.
that. He loves that bow.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
it was just like there's nothing wrong with what I have here. It was a SR6. No, it wasn't.
SR7.
It was a Realm something.
I thought it was an SR7.
Rain. It was a Rain 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy's like, I don't care. Anyway, and it's just like him and that bow just never got off on the right foot. And then as soon as he got to that Matthews, Frank put him into that, and it was like, okay, yep, whew, this is
go.
better, you know. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So
to
sometimes
me.
it is what it is.
And I've had that too, man. Just
Yeah.
like full transparency, I've gotten bows, and they just don't shoot for me.
Yeah.
And whether it's like the aggressiveness of the cam or the brace height not being forgiving or what have you, it could be any of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Right.
Yep.
Like I'm not talking bad on them, nothing. I know they're a top bow, but I haven't found a Hoyt that I like. Never been able to find one that just like, yep, that's the bow that's gonna
I
work.
could change that.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah.
But
I would like for him to change that for me.
yeah, 'cause
When I bought my this era,
Mhm.
I wanted a Hoyt. What's their RX6 at the maybe it meant RX7 at the time.
7 probably. They didn't make a 6.
And okay, so it was the 7, and then the Elite Era was sitting right there too. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna try both the composites, okay? And I liked the Era better, but I don't know how each one was set up. I don't, you know, I didn't know a lot of those things.
Could have been set up.
Right. So, and I ended up picking the Era. I like that bow. I've
Phenomenal
shot it ever
bow.
since.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get it restrung, keep using it. But what's funny is when I bought that bow, you're gonna laugh at this. Bought the bow, got it set up, and then was like, I feel weird. So I went and bought a brand new black gold custom sight from S&S Archery at the time, out in Washington. They do custom ones, so I got like 3 yellow pins that were all 10-pin size, or 3 greens, and the exact same sight that I have on the Era, and then had Doug restring my Assassin and set it back up.
Right.
Because I'm like, if something goes wrong with this Era, I'm not like, I'm just not ready to walk away from my Assassin. That Assassin has sat in the bow case since then.
Yeah.
I haven't used it yet. I mean, I probably should sell
A
it.
backup bow's never a bad idea.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, I spent $600 on a black gold
Well,
to sit in this.
when we first started going out to Colorado, I think every one of us brought a backup bow.
Yeah.
Like because we were so nervous about it, and it's still a good idea to have. But then we got to the point where we just don't got the room for this many bows, guys. We can't take 12 bows.
So if you find a hunting partner that's got the same specs as you, like me
That'd
and
be
Frank,
nice.
Yeah.
I can shoot his bow. he can
Nobody's
shoot
got
mine.
the same specs as me.
yeah.
Or
I mean,
Andy. Andy and I are like the two opposites, you know, on the opposite ends.
Well,
No one's gonna
Andy's
have the
screwed
same.
either way because he's lefty.
He's lefty. Yep.
But I can shoot Pats. Me and Pat were pretty right there.
I'm just SOL. I'll have to
Yeah,
shoot
you're kinda
somebody that's
screwed.
got a 29.5-inch draw.
You're,
Right.
you're screwed.
Sit back here. Okay, so that's the first thing. Like, not really something necessarily a common mistake, but
Something to think about.
I've heard that, you know, people just like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
So maybe coming in with an open mind. Hey, we've got these options, but I really don't know that you're 6'4", that you should be looking at this little thing right here.
Yes.
You know, I think you should do this. And if you don't have that open mind, you might not be happy with everything, you know, if it just doesn't shoot the way you want it to.
You would be happier with that longer axle bow, I would argue, 90% of the time than you will that shorter one.
Yeah.
We just won't run into the issues that we will with the shorter one for that long draw guy.
Right.
I'm talking specifically long draw guys. The guys in the middle, either way, it works.
Make it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could almost fit into a kid's bow, so we're good. But so okay, that's the first thing. What's some other common things you notice, especially like with bow setup, or when problems you see people bring in a bow and you're like, I can't figure out what's wrong,
Right.
and then you start messing with it.
I guess I should say that, like, specs from the bow is the most important part, and I would say branding is the least important. Every one of these companies makes a good bow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They just all do. It's 2025. They all have some kind of tuning tech or easy tuning with the press, and the speeds are all relatively similar, and the durability's there on most of them, so you can't go with a bad one. Setup, and I'm going to harp on draw length here because it's probably the most important part of this whole situation with anything we do. I see guys set up long all the time, like, and maybe that was a holdover from back in the day, or you know, when you walked into an archery shop 15 years ago and every bow on the shelf was a 29-inch draw, and that's just what you got. But I see a lot of guys that are shooting inch and a half too long, and that kills your accuracy big
I can
time.
see that. Yeah.
My first bow was a hand-me-down from a buddy. I think it was like 2 or 3 inches too long for me. Killed my first deer with it.
Sure.
But I took it up to get some arrows made. What was that shop in Raymore? I think it was Raymore.
Raytown.
Raytown, yeah.
B&B.
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 Yep.
I took it there. That was back when the old man and woman still
Husband
were
and wife.
Yeah, they were still running, and he had a talk with me. He's like, "You really need to change your bow." I'm like, "I don't have any money." I was a kid, you know. I was like, I'm like, "We're gonna have to make this work." And
I remember my Assassin, so 27 inches, and the Assassins, I don't know if you remember, have a nut that you set the draw length, and then that nut, you tighten that nut down, and that's what stops.
Yeah, it's a limb stop.
Yeah, the
Yep.
stop. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to say terms correctly. I can
Sure.
promise you. And anyway, shooting the bow, blah blah blah. And as the summer goes on, I think we're at a shoot together. Back when Frank was running his shoots.
Yep. We're in
Here.
Warrensburg.
Yep. And then I think we might have been in Marshall doing one, and I'm shooting, and Russell or somebody was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Way back here." Well, just little by little over time that summer, that nut had loosened, and I was all the way at 29 inches.
Yeah.
Just
on the top one.
on the top one. So I just didn't notice because it was small enough at a time that I made my body used to it, and then wondered why I wasn't shooting well. All of a sudden, immediately take it to Frank. He fixes it for me, and they actually ended up putting white out on the nut, and we marked each side.
Yep.
So if it did it again, we knew. And I remember the rest of the time I ever hunted with that bow, every morning I would check it. I would check that white out just because it happened once, and it never moved again. But
they've kind of gone away from that slide system.
Makes sense.
On this, it's just it didn't work real well.
For that reason right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to kind of know it.
I mean, you're pulling back on that thing hundreds of times,
Hopefully.
thousands of times, sort of thing. It's gonna.
Yeah.
What's some other things you see with setup? I envision people buy a bow from their buddy. They start shooting. I envision just issues with, I don't know, cams are not on the same time, or
Sure, and those
draw length is always something.
Cam timing's an obvious one. I would say that's more in the realm of tuning.
Yep.
When you pick up a new bow, you should get it tuned by a competent shop. And so the cam timing would be involved in that. I guess another thing would be rest timing. So a lot of guys don't know this, but when you change draw length on a bow, or really anything on the bow, rest height, draw length, whatever, that rest timing is important. A lot of these drop ways run off the cable, and that cable is linked to when that bow gets to full draw and gets to rest again. And so that needs to be timed correctly to get out of the arrow's way. If you're running something like a Hamsky or a limb-driven, it really doesn't matter all that much, but on a cable-driven rest, that's important. I see a lot of contact, and a lot of guys don't know this either, but those things stretch over time. So if you get a new bow set up and you set cam timing, you set rest timing, and you go shoot 200 shots, that needs to be checked again.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I just remember, my nephew was talking about, he was shooting one day, and he left his bow out in the sun. And it was a hot day, and the next day he saw it, and his strings were just they looked like they were fried.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's not good, man. And I'm like, how old are the strings? He's like, 10.
Right.
I'm like, that needs to be restrung anyway. Now,
It's time.
I don't know the exact perfect timing, but 10 years is a long time.
Man, I see bows walk in here with factory strings from 15 years ago
my gosh,
all the time. It's a wear thing.
Yeah.
If they're kept in a cool environment and not shot and dust and beat through the brush and all that stuff, they last quite a while.
Sure. It's just, things happen over 10
Yeah.
years, stretching and things like that. But
Sure.
Anyways, I just, I envision people like myself when I bought a new bow from, Russell. It was just this is what it is.
Right.
I'm going to shoot it. And then they develop bad habits as a result of the shooting. I luckily knew draw length right off the bat because the first time I ever shot a bow was his, and he played a nasty little trick on me. I think his draw is about 29.5, and I'd never shot a bow before, so we go out at his mom and dad's, and he's like, "You want to shoot it?" I'm like, "Sure." And I pull back, and he sees me like this, and he just doesn't say anything. And I'm like, "Okay, Bob." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's awesome." I took off so much skin from my forearm, and he was like, "Now you learn not to do this anymore." I'm like, "Well, how was I supposed to?"
You could have taught me that before.
Oh, I'm not kidding you. It
Everybody's done
hurt so
once.
bad.
Everybody's done it.
So I learned about draw length real quick. That something too long, you're gonna overextend possibly, and
Yeah, things just
take
get out
skin
of
off.
alignment. It's mostly the hips
I can see
generally.
that.
I see the hips kick out, and then you get this situation where you can't get your elbow back far enough,
Mhm.
and then you get face pressure on it, and then your arrow flight goes to junk. It's over
I
at
can
that
see
point.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, draw length, cam timing's important, rest timing's important. But once the bow, if you get a bow that's spec'd out right for you and the draw length's correct, and when I say draw length's correct, I think guys ought to know down to the quarter inch what they need to be. Like if you find a bow that shoots well for you, have somebody put it in a draw board and measure it and say this is 30 and an eighth to the end of the D loop, and that's your number. That's it, because they hold better at the right draw length when you're all aligned.
Yep.
And so that's something to set aside and keep for a later date. Like keep that number handy. So when you go to set up a new bow, you can say, hey, tell your bow shop, I want this at 30 and an eighth to the end of the D loop, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Once that's all set up.
By the way, you talk about a little shorter being okay.
Yeah.
So
we can talk about that.
Doug set me up one time. The first time I ever met Doug, my actual draw length was like 27 and an eighth. And he's like, I would go down to 27.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. Makes it easier too, you know.
Yep.
And he's like, plus, it's going to make it easier for you. Plus, it's okay to be just a little shorter than it is.
And so we can say this for the guys that are out there struggling to hold pin on target, because I've ran through this myself, and this is something that I did for a long time. If your pin is locking low and you're having trouble getting it up into the dot, it's one of two things. It's either target panic, which at that point switch releases,
which is
work on it.
really common too.
Yes. Yeah. The other side of that is a draw length that's too long. And I'm not talking a half inch or an inch too long. I'm talking it might be an eighth of an inch too long.
Really?
Yes. And so what I do on my personal setups is I actually measure it about 30 and an eighth. That's where my draw length should be. I shoot my bows at 29 and 5/8. So I'm a half inch shorter than what I should be. What that does for me is on uneven footing or conditions where I have clothes on, I'm inside the triangle, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and I have control of the bow, and I don't have clothes interrupting the shot. Because at the end of the day, and I shoot some tournament archery here and there, but at the end of the day, it's all practice for the hunting side of things. And so I want that bow system to be perfect in a tree stand or spot and stock situation.
Wearing marshmallow clothes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that shorter draw length never hurts. And if a guy's struggling to get good groups or have the bow hold good, I would suggest first thing you need to do is shorten it a quarter or a half and try it.
Yeah, and I've considered going shorter. My issue that I'm running into is the shorter I'm already 27. If I went down to like 26 3/4 or even 26 1/2, I'm getting so much slower. I'm already slow for what I want it to be. And then, you just keep going down. So we backed it down to 27, and I've been happy with that, I would say. Haven't had issues with hitting clothes, but it does make me think in those times where I'm got a lot more clothes on, you pay attention, I guess, to, making sure your form is correct.
Sure.
Because especially in a hunting situation, sometimes, you're rushed. You got to, draw in an odd way.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the first things I think about if I'm wearing – when I'm shooting in the summer, I'm never wearing sleeves.
Yeah.
I'm never wearing gloves.
And I still don't wear gloves because of that.
Yeah, and I usually don't wear gloves hunting.
I hate gloves.
It's too cold to even stand it.
But you got to think of those things. If you're going to be wearing – you go from the summertime and then all of a sudden you're wearing a base layer, maybe a shirt over it, and then let's say a sweatshirt or a coat and gloves, that just changes a lot of things.
It does.
So for me, I just make sure I don't wear gloves when I'm hunting for that reason, because I don't like them and I don't shoot with them during the summer. So
I think you should practice with them if you're going to shoot with them.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
So it's just kind of one of them deals. The other thing that people make fun of me all the time is when we go shooting together, my quiver's on my bow because that's how I hunt.
Yep.
So I just
I'll go a step further.
Okay.
I take one arrow out of the quiver.
That's what I do. I put my arrow back in, and then the next place we go, I take it back out, just like I'm
as
hunting.
silly as that sounds,
Hey, Kevin said it's the right way.
No, I mean you should shoot how you're gonna hunt.
I understand, when we're places, it's easier to get.
Right.
I get that. I'm not.
I get
shit,
in the bad habit though. I was shooting yesterday, and I keep my quiver on my bow, but I just leave my arrows out.
Yeah,
So,
that happens for sure. I get it.
You're talking, a few hundred, grams or whatever you want to call it, and so it depends how technical you want to get with it.
Absolutely.
I guess.
It's just you're comfortable a certain way, so that's how I've always done it. My quiver was always on my bow, and so I've just always kept it on.
Yeah.
And shoot that way.
There was a time for me where I would take the quiver off the bow because I felt more comfortable that way. So you shoot 3D archery all summer, and you're shooting a bow with no quiver on it with a bunch of side weight, and you get used to that balance.
Yeah.
And so then you go to a hunting bow and you throw a quiver on, and now all of a sudden your balance is off, and it takes you weeks and months to learn it.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where I just said, I'm going to take my quiver off the bow when we do this, because, and no matter what situation it was in, you know, whether it's in a backpack or hanging on a tree or something, but as these quivers have gotten better, we're able to slam that quiver tighter to the bow.
Yep.
They're lighter.
They're not as bulky. Yeah,
Exactly.
they're a lot.
They're adjustable.
It's not as much of a pain having them on there as it used to be.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and they're easy to take off too. Like mine, I can just go
Yeah, just got
and
Right.
slide right off.
quick connect. But
But-
and I was always one that kept my quiver off during hunting.
You were, yeah. Like
Yeah, but I've gotten to the point where I'm just gonna leave it on.
Right.
You know, just leave it on.
Back to the draw length thing for just a second. All these newer bows are easy to adjust that at home too. So, like the Hoyts, for instance, they have a foot on the end of the mod that can be adjusted for let off. So it has 85, 80, and 75 on it. As you move that, you're actually adjusting draw length as well. So you can shorten and lengthen that to get your let off correct and the draw length correct. And so you can put the mod in the next hole, 1/4 inch longer, back the let off back down to try an 1/8 inch this way, 1/8 inch that way, and you can really dial it in. And there's several brands that do that. Elite and Hoyt are the two that come to mind right off the bat. But
nice.
Yeah.
It is nice, the adjustability that newer bows have gotten over
Yes.
the past 10 years probably. They've really, I would say, like from the time you started working on bows till today has been
it's been
a lot of new things coming out.
Yeah, it's been a change.
Yeah, which I guess is good for someone learning how to work on bows when
Right.
the technology just
Well, because
blew
I
up.
still have my hand in the old stuff too, right?
Right.
So I do a lot of string replacements on bows that are 15 years plus old.
dude came in on Saturday with an
Yeah.
old bow. He was going to get restrung for his son.
Yep, and hanging around those old hats that shot those bows and worked on those bows, like the guys we mentioned before, man, I can take any one of those bows and make it shoot really well, which is really cool.
Right.
Like, we're not beholden to the new stuff. As much as I like selling bows, I also like getting the old ones to shoot good again.
Yeah.
So that's cool. As far as other mistakes.
So we've kind of went through the setup at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
and realistically, I really think if you can find a good competent shop that you can trust, that is on them to do that with a new bow purchase. Now, if you come in for strings and you don't, you should ask to tune the bow after you put new strings on every time.
makes sense. Yep.
We do that here standard, but that is part of that. So, but that should be on your shop. Make sure your shop's doing that for you.
And that's kind of like, for me, Micah's much better than I am at this sort of stuff. He'll tinker with things, but like I don't try to pull my own teeth. I don't try to diagnose my own colds.
Right.
I'm not going to try to make my bow perfect at home. I'm not good enough. I'm going to take it to somebody who is good enough and make sure that it's shooting straight. Now, if I fuck up from there, that's on me. But I know that when I walked out of Doug's shop before or Frank's before or here at Aerodynamics now with Kevin, the bow will be shooting straight.
Mm-hmm.
So
whether or not you do it or not.
whether or not I do it, we'll talk about common mistakes people,
Sure.
make. Whether or not I do it is on me at that point. But at least I know my tool is shooting correctly.
Right.
Just like with our rifles and coyote hunting. If it's not shooting straight, we would do something about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But with a bow, we're like, oh, it's close enough. No,
Right.
we got to figure that out. Like, why am I hitting, right more often than I am?
Yeah.
Or more than I should. There could be something going on. It could be me, but I know that when it leaves here, the bow is not the problem.
Right.
That's important to
Well,
me.
it gives you that confidence.
That's it
confidence
gives me that
is
peace of mind
so
that I'm
huge
not.
in bow hunting.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That for me, it's a peace of mind that I know, like when I take my truck to my mechanic, I know that it is going to work because I didn't try to do it.
Well, and at the end of the day, that's what this is. Like,
it's a mechanic.
as much as I sell stuff and we do the new stuff that comes out every year, and that's fun, at the end of the day, we're mechanics for these things. And if your car's not running on all 8 cylinders when it leaves the shop, you've got a problem, right? And so we focus on that here more than anything, is like, no matter what the platform is or who it is that's buying the platform, at least make the platform do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I can't be in the stand with you and tell you to get your grip right or get your thumb out of it or get your face pressure out of it. But I can make sure that bow's shooting straight and shooting with all the performance it can when it leaves.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's important to me. I still haven't found the dipstick yet for a bow, but, at least
Got
I know
all
how
the
to look.
jokes tonight, huh?
But okay, so we kind of move to that. Let's talk about shooting because,
We missed a big part of this.
Oh, go ahead.
Arrow setup.
Oh, duh. Yeah. All these things I keep kicking right
because
here.
The bow's one thing, but then if you pick the wrong arrow in that bow,
Mm-hmm.
you're losing out on a lot of potential, or even like you're just neutering the bow essentially at the end of the day. And the first and foremost thing in that is spine. God, I see a lot of guys with the wrong spine.
I bet.
I believe that, yeah.
I mean, I never even thought about it until I actually was taught about it.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing, and spine will cover tuning mistakes if it's weak. So if you're a guy that needs to be in a 300 and you've got a 350, man, your field points might just wad up. But as soon as you throw a broadhead on it, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
And so
talk real quick for the person listening that is like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
Talk about what spine is.
So spine is the stiffness of the arrow, right? So companies, Victory or Easton or whoever, they'll have an arrow and they'll put it on a ram spine tester or a certain length of a pivot point, and they'll hang a weight from the middle of the arrow. And what that number is a spine deflection reading. So when they hang that weight, it'll measure how much that arrow flexes. Mm-hmm. And that gives you a baseline of how much that arrow should flex for you, depending on how much nose weight you put in the front, what poundage you're pulling, how much draw length you have, things like that.
Because a lot of that factors into what you should be
All
shooting,
of it.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm playing with a few arrows right here. So, like, here's a 300 spine right here, and here's a 350. These are both Victories.
Yep.
V-Forces, it looks
They
like.
look the same.
So
They look the
essentially, the 350 flexes more when set at 28 inches and hung a weight from the middle of it. The 350 flexes more than the 300 does.
So the lower the number, the stiffer the spine.
For
or the
most arrow
stronger.
companies.
For
I've seen
most.
arrow companies switch that
Oh,
and do
that's
some other
nice.
things. Yeah,
That was real nice of them.
right.
Yeah, because that's how my brain works. The lower the number, kind of like golf, right?
Yep.
Which golf is stupid. But the lower the number, the stiffer the arrow, or the more it takes to break it. If that makes not break it, but flex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Flex. And you want some flex. Some flex is good. The arrow will correct for you and cover
Right.
some mistakes.
Sure.
That's a good thing. But I would say that I see more guys get hurt from weak spine than I do from stiff spine. And what I mean by that is I'm kind of right on the line between a 300 and a 250, depending on how much nose weight I run.
That's how I am. I'm right there in the middle.
Yep.
I get better performance out of a 250.
Do you?
Yes.
See, I've only ran the 300, so I'm curious.
And when I say better
I'm
performance,
smack in the middle of 300. I wish I was closer to like 250, because then I'd be like, oh, I could get a heavier arrow. Because the stiffer the spine, typically they're heavier, right?
yes,
Right.
yeah, I'll
So,
go along.
you know, a guy for me, like, I've been like, oh, that's nice. Although with a lighter arrow, you can be a little faster. But anyway, I don't have to worry about that. Like, I'm probably closer to 350 than I am 250.
I was going to say, I think 350 is more your number.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I mean by a stiffer spine, just for the guys listening at home that know a little bit about this, if you can keep your grip consistent and your face pressure off of it, that 300 will wad up and it will fly your broadhead. Or sorry, that 250 will wad up in the middle and it will fly your broadheads there. The problem I run into when you're on the edge of spine there and you go to a weak spine is if you have an arrow out of that batch that's a little weaker than the rest of them and you screw a broadhead on it, you're going to see some funky stuff. Because they're all batched, right?
Sure,
Not all
yeah.
of them read exactly 350.
Sure.
Some of them read
They have
351,
tolerances.
352.
Yeah.
And so you get this Easton might argue with that because they do things pretty precise. But just from what I've seen, I've had batches of arrows where there are weaker than what they should be. So I always err on the side of stiff.
Yeah.
I feel like if I do my part, the arrow's going to hit where it should. Now I might not get as tight to groups with field points as I would with a 300 because the arrow's not correcting as much for me. But at the end of the day, we're flying broadheads or at least for me, the important part is that broadhead flies where it should.
Right.
And so a little bit of peace of mind with that stiffer arrow.
Yeah.
And it tunes better for me too. Like if you get a bow tuned and that 250 runs through there, or stiff arrow for anybody listening, if that stiff arrow runs through there and it bullet holes, generally the rest of the batch will too.
Yeah.
You don't have that weird flyer that's like, I can't get that left out.
Well, I
So-
mean, how many people go out there and they number their arrows? Be like, this one flies
Used
the
to.
best,
Yep.
this one second best, whatever. I mean, I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Especially with broadheads, like fixed
Yeah.
blades.
Yeah.
You know, I would marry arrows to broadheads all the time.
And I'm not saying that if you've always shot 300 and you're right in the middle of the 300 range that going to 250 is going to fix anything.
Right.
Right.
I'm talking for the guys that are on the edge. Like oh, I've always shot a 350, but I'm 29 inches, 75 pounds now, and these newer bows that have a harsher draw force curve, and man, you could be pushed into that next spine category.
Yeah.
So it might be hard to explain, but how does someone figure out what spine they should be shooting?
You should go to your shop and ask.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's a way to explain it, but
I used to pick mine up Bass Pro. They'd always have those specials.
Yep.
Back in the day, I'd just pick up. Oh, these ones are on sale.
Oh,
Look at
those
those
350s.
Yeah, whatever.
move on. 400.
Yep. And because there's a lot of factors that go into it too, aside from draw length and draw weight. It's also nose weight and then what bow you're shooting. Like there's certain bows on the shelf that I know tend to like the stiffer arrows. They've got a harsher draw force curve. They're a little harder on the arrow out of the bow initially, and you can kind of feel it in the draw cycle generally. Like if a cam's soft, it'll take a weaker spine arrow just fine. If a cam's not soft, it needs that stiffer arrow. But point weight's a big factor. There's a huge difference between stacking a standard 26 grain insert up front with a 100 grain field point and then taking that same arrow and putting 75 in the insert and a 125 on front. You've just went from 125 in the nose to 200 grains in the nose, and now that spine has to move that.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got to stabilize it.
And that takes some tinkering and some form of, hey, I've seen X amount of setups. This seems to work well for this situation.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of spine options, so a good shop should be able to tell you what you should be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And setup, we could talk about that all night long, because there's, arrow length. There's, which is probably another thing you probably see a lot. People shooting an arrow that's like 6 inches longer than it should be, or too short. But, veins and, how many fletchings and, how many and what kind. And, I've always been one of those people that when something works, I don't mess with it too much.
Yeah, how far into the weeds do you want to get?
I still shoot boning blazers because they've always worked well. I'm shooting the same arrow I've shot for the past however long. I would be open to changing if I got a new bow, and but it's just those things where people are always tinkering with things. I just don't tinker too much. When I find something I like, that's why I shot that assassin for so long, because I found something I liked, I shot well with it, and I was confident when I would go hunting with it. All these other guys are like, well, I'm using these damn cool new fletchings and all this. I'm like, I still got the blazers. I just kind of what I did, and I was happy with them. And then,
well, if you're interested in any of the vein stuff, we won't go into it because it's a long conversation. Easton, Hoyt, and Precision Cut Archery just put out a new study, and I recommend anybody go look at it. They actually put data points to everything vein related, and it's freaking cool. Like each vein, they tested 30 or 40 different veins, and it'll show you how much they corrected for a bow out of tune, which is what you want to know, because when your grip's faulty in the time that you shoot a buck or whatever you're shooting, you need that vein to correct for you. And it also plotted drag and wind drift. So how much that vein out at distance started to drag and how much it drifted with the wind. And you can just go to the chart and say, well, I want something that does good in all these categories. Here's your vein options.
I want one that's really good here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if that's something somebody's interested in,
That's
go check
cool.
it out.
Because for anybody that might not know a lot, there is a F-ton of veins out there to pick from.
What was cool about that?
I mean, I'm looking at one type basically right now on these, but there are so many brands and so many even the same brand has a bunch of different options.
Yeah.
I know Boning
styles.
has got all kinds of the heat and the but that's just them, and then you got the AAEs and it's so much that I was like, you know what, this is working for me. I'm just gonna keep doing this.
And I don't blame you one bit. And the Blazer actually performed pretty well.
Yeah,
they're just kind of loud.
Yeah,
is what it showed. What was really cool about that from an archery shop perspective is I've had my own opinions on veins for a while, and the guys around me and staff shooters and this, that, and the other. We've all kind of got our own opinions on veins. What was really cool about that study is we were able to sit down and say, are the veins in the shop what we should be putting on arrows?
Yeah.
And 90% of it was yes. They performed well in all
cool.
categories and did the job just fine. And so that was cool to sit down and say, okay, Easton, Hoyt, and Precision Cut all said that this works. And if a guy's got a question about it, I just turn the chart to him and say, take a look.
What do you think?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the way these perform.
Yep.
Not necessarily one better than the other.
Just different.
It's based on maybe what you're looking for. Like for me, my Blazers, I don't notice them being loud.
Yep.
They probably are a little. They're taller, so
Sure.
it makes sense that they would be louder than like the heat from Boning.
The industry went to that because they steered broadheads well.
Yeah.
Which is what everybody wants.
And so
Right.
I'm like, I don't really care, about that. But other people might really care about it. Maybe they're
Sure.
taking 100-yard shots at I don't know, something that I'm not.
Right.
So I mean, everybody's got what they're looking at differently, and especially if you're a hunter compared to maybe just only shooting for target, not practice, but competitions.
Sure.
Those things change too. So, or a guy like me who I can't shoot two different things. Like some people might have a competition bow and a hunting bow. That to me, my OCD doesn't work. It
Well, for the guys
screwed me up.
around here, this podcast is called Missouri Woods and Water, right?
Yep.
So in
We're
Missouri,
most
we
of the
hunt
time in Missouri.
we hunt whitetails, right?
Right.
Yep.
And whitetails are dang spooky, and they'll jump an arrow, and so a lot of people think it's the bow noise that goes off. I think it's actually arrow noise. They hear a whistling arrow coming at them, just like a bee flying at you or whatever, but they're a lot quicker than we are.
Right.
And so I encourage you to take that vane noise seriously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because if it can mitigate 2 inches of drop, that's 2 inches closer to where you're aiming.
That's
And that's
very
the difference
true.
between recovering and not.
So
But
do you
some of
got
the time.
what's your preference on vanes then?
So
I was going to ask him about all kinds of preferences.
We do a lot of DCA, and they're a smaller company. Kyle Davison is the guy that owns it.
Okay.
I kind of got in contact with him when he was first coming up, and we put the vanes in the shop when I opened. They've been phenomenal. They're quiet. They steer broadheads well. And so a lot of the custom fletch stuff we do in a DCA. If we're not doing a DCA and we're worried about broadhead flight plus just a good vane all around, it's generally the Hybrid 26 from AAE.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Russell shoots those.
I think that's the one I shoot. I know I shoot the AE hybrid. I don't know if it's the 26.
It probably is.
Probably.
That's the most popular. And it used to be, so they make another one called the Stealth Max, or the
I know
Max
it's not-
Stealth.
Yeah, I know it's not that
That's
one.
what Russell shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same exact profile, just a different material.
Yeah.
But those two vanes have been really good for us. I went on a couple mule deer hunts this year, and so I was really worried about noise and drag out there in the west. And so I went to a flex fletch vane, which I've run in the past for some tournament stuff, but never really hunted with them. Man, I was blown away. They've got this 3.5-inch vane that is dead quiet, and it steers.
Really?
Yes.
Are those? Where did I see? Are they right there?
They're actually behind the counter.
Okay.
here.
I thought I saw some vanes when I was in here Saturday perusing, and I'm like, those look cool. They were long.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they almost look feathery.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I
and
didn't
so
touch 'em.
that's what I was running this year, and I
Okay.
really dig them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I'll have to check those out. So that's what and obviously there's preferences. Sounds like you probably shoot a Hoyt,
I do.
just based on what he said earlier. Is it
that
one of the
header.
RX? Is it one of the comp?
Yeah, I've
composition
got
bows?
several of them.
Okay.
I've got an RX-9 that I've been hunting with
Mhm.
right now. I had a Z1S, which was their speed bow a couple years ago, and man, I love that bow. I had the best year I'll probably ever have with that bow.
Yeah.
Best couple years. I shot it 2 years in a row. I liked it so much.
Like,
Yeah.
isn't that your competition?
No, that's my
your-
hunting bow.
the hunt-
Yeah. I've dabbled in some of their longer axle-to-axle hunting bows as far as like a tournament bow.
Mhm.
And their hunting bows shoot so stinking good, man.
Right.
And their target bows are awesome too. And I'll probably have one this year to shoot some 3D with. But their hunting bows have always been so accurate for me that it's just an easy setup to shoot 3D with one, bolt the quiver on when you get done, drop some weight off the other back bar, and go to the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm a Hoyt guy. We can get into that a little bit if you want to, but that's the only other thing on arrow setup I want to say is I think that, and maybe you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but from the stories I hear in the shop, there's two things that kill hunters when it comes to making a good shot. One of them is the deer ducking. You always hear that story: deer
All the
duck,
time.
deer duck, deer duck.
Yep.
So vane noises.
Jump my string.
Right, exactly. I would argue, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I would argue that 9 times out of 10, that might be a ranging error.
I could definitely see that.
And I say that because I've done it to myself.
And that happens to the best hunters too.
Yes.
I was talking to Mike Hunsucker, who is Heartland bow hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and that happened with him with it. Now he uses a Garmin Zero,
Sure.
and it ranged something that he didn't. It re-ranged. I think he ranged it and then it re-ranged, and he didn't realize he hit the button again, and he shot over the buck's back. It happens to the best of us, but
It's happened to me multiple times. I watched
100%.
Frank do it.
Yeah.
And so and with that, when it comes to arrow build, I like to put a guy in something that complements how much performance he can get out of the bow as far as trajectory goes. Because when we're talking about ranging errors, 3 yards can be 3 inches or 3 yards can be 18 inches. It depends what arrow you're shooting.
I'd prefer it be a lot less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I see all these guys talk about, oh, the deer ducked me, the deer ducked me. Well, in my situation in the past, it's been I ranged the deer. He came in at, or the trail he was walking down was 42, and he was actually standing at 40 when I got done, and now I hit high because I shot him for 42.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I want to do is close that gap between 40 and 42. And I do this on my setups, especially on years I go out west, is like I want to close that gap. I want to be able to shoot a deer for 50 and kill him all the way out to 58.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even be worried
He
about
took
it.
2 steps.
Yeah.
You want your pins stacked up on top of each
Yeah, and
other.
I could tell story after story about that happening to me. On elk, too.
100%.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
happened to Frank.
I think we're the best at it because we don't ever kill anything and we shoot a lot. You know, it's like it is. It's like it happened to the guys this year. Andy and them got back this morning, and Andy shot a cow, which we don't get too much into it because we'll have a show about it. But shot a cow and she took a step as he was shooting, and which really wasn't the shot's fault. The shot hit exactly where it was supposed to. It just ended up being backwards because she took a step.
Yeah.
But
we're playing in variables.
there's so many variables.
Exactly.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes it really sucks.
So how many of those can you eliminate?
Right.
One of those is range, and it's a big one. And so, anyway, I would say because arrow weight's a big topic these days for guys.
Well, you got those
FOC,
guys that want,
baby.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want the
FOC.
most, the heaviest thing they can put on the front. Pat's huge.
Pat's
on,
a huge
he
one of
wants.
those.
And
so
I would
much
argue
weight.
that FOC is important. It just
Sure.
depends on how much your arrow weight finishes at. So there's a difference between 18% FOC on a 450 grain arrow and 18% FOC on a 650 grain arrow. You can get to both. Which one's going to give you the best trajectory?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's that lighter arrow. Now there's a limit to that. I generally try to stay between 400 and 475 in there.
See, I'm 480-ish, 480, 490, somewhere.
Right.
I feel
my
better. I'm
setup.
427.
And you can get away with more the more draw length you have. But for like you,
I'm never going to have a hair unless I throw so much weight up front.
sure.
Yeah.
And there's some arrows that you can do that with and get that arrow weight down, keep your trajectory good, and still have FOC and maybe a cut on contact head that does well for you for penetration. But
Yeah.
it's an important topic.
And we can get in the weeds. Maybe do another show on it because you can get into the weeds on all kinds of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For one guy, a 550 grain arrow going at 295 feet per second is totally different than a guy with a 427 grain arrow going 265 feet per second. But one guy may never be able to match with the other guy. If I wanted to shoot an arrow 295, I'd have to have it 95 pounds because I shoot short. I mean, I just screw myself on a bow. What are they always? What's all the specs at? 29.5 inches or whatever? Out of the
No, they
like
do
the
like
speed
30.
they spec them
Oh,
at.
for IBO, yeah,
Yeah.
it's 30 inches, 70 pounds.
Yeah, so like I'm going to be shorter than that most of the
Well,
time, right? It just
yeah.
depends on certain things. So
You are.
like I don't ever want to look at Micah's arrow setup and go, that's what I'm going to try to get to, because I just might not. It might not work for my
Sure.
setup. My
Sure.
setup is different than yours, different than his, and like Pat shoots 650 grains now or
Yeah,
whatever.
but he's also shooting 80-pound limbs.
Yeah, so it
might
works
be
well.
90.
It works well for
80
him.
or 90.
He likes
he's
it.
up there.
And there's guys that kill things and do really well all over the spectrum. I don't want to ever
Sure.
say anybody's deal
You
is
just said your
wrong.
wife killed something last year shooting 32 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
She has killed.
A couple years ago, but she shoots low poundage, low draw length, and we keep the range reasonable and we keep
Sure.
the arrow reasonable for her
Got to know what
setup.
your thing
and
is. Yeah.
she does well.
Yeah.
So
It just depends on, like for like her setup, she's not going to shoot a 70-yard shot at an elk.
No.
Because it's going to go dink.
Right.
The elk's going to be like, damn, what was that? Whereas, so like knowing, what your setup is, but that's a whole, like that's
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
rabbit hole.
We
can
go
down.
hours.
Yeah. But it's all interesting stuff.
Right.
Especially if you haven't thought about it. Now, shooting, I'm sure you see all kinds of, especially when a guy comes in and says, hey, Kevin, set my bow up. Okay, get you set up. All right, your 27-inch draw. Let's do this. We'll do these arrows. All right, let's go shoot.
Yep.
And you see the guy out there, and he's like, I was just trying to think of something like, you've probably seen some funny shit.
bad form.
Bad form.
Yeah.
Slapping stuff, just whatever. What are some common issues you see with shooting?
I think the biggest is face pressure that nobody thinks about. Everybody thinks about front hand grip, and it's important, and you want to keep your thumb out of it and all this stuff on the front side.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have pressure on the string on your face side,
You mean like this?
it is impossible to keep that consistent.
I've seen
Yeah.
that.
I was bad about it there for a while when I first started shooting.
I mean,
Probably because I was
everybody
had
talks to you about
3
anchoring.
inch too long, and I was like over here trying to find the beat.
Yeah, and there's guys that are accurate with face pressure, but when we go to tune and we see how arrow flight responds, and then if you want to try to shoot fixed blade broadheads out of that setup, face pressure is going to get you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to come around and bite you at some point. What guys don't think about is when you draw a bow back, let's say it's a 70-pound bow and you're running 85% let off. At the end of that, you're holding at the back wall about 10 to 12 pounds, okay? So that string has 10 to 12 pounds of pressure on it. How much pressure does it take to move that string with 12?
Not
10
much.
to
Not
12?
much.
Yeah, it just doesn't, right? So you get your nose buried in it or your cheek buried in it or you've got the arrow up here on your cheek and you're pushing on it, and all those factors result in terrible arrow flight generally.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can tune it out. If a guy has a beard, it's really hard to say, go home, shave your beard, and come back.
Yeah.
You know,
fuck you. I don't want to look like a child.
right. So we can work with that. Generally,
Right.
what I do for that is I try to drop the anchor point and get the peep height higher. What that does is it brings the arrow point of contact with the D-loop from your chin or in your cheek to underneath, and now you have this clearance underneath your chin, and that's where I run mine as well.
Yeah.
And so guys like John Dudley or any of these local guys that I know that have taught me stuff like that, it is good to get that arrow down a little bit.
Makes sense. One of the best things that ever happened to me was getting rid of the kisser.
Mm.
Like the first bow I ever bought. Now, some people love it. First bow I ever bought from Russell, it had a kisser button on it, and I got used to like jamming that thing in the corner of my mouth. I think it
Sure.
was the corner, and I started putting a lot of pressure on my bowstrings because of it.
Yep.
And once I got rid of it and kind of started teaching myself to just kind of place, this is what I do at least, just like my nose just kind of touches the string. That's kind of like my anchor. Is just
I think that's
like
a
touch.
general consensus best
Yeah.
practice in the industry
But
these days.
for a long time, it was just like, well, I got a beer here, and that means I might be doing this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? People on YouTube are kind of
Well, and back in the day,
Right.
the bows didn't have the let off they have now, so you get away with more.
right.
Right. And so if a guy does have face pressure, the first thing I do is take the let off down. Like, you're going to be holding more weight, buddy.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Because
Yeah.
we need to get that string taunter at full draw.
Yeah.
Pretty
Right.
sure,
If you
and
wanna
I'm
be
pretty
more
sure Frank was
consistent.
the guy that said, let's try that without a kisser button.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just, for me, it was like, I'm free.
I've moved away from the kisser on most
Yeah.
stuff and gone to the nose button.
Yeah, so I've never tried a nose button, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't
so
know.
the thing that it does for me is because when I'm really burying into a shot and I'm trying to pull through and execute correctly,
Mhm.
the thing that I do is I start to really dig in. Like, I'm focusing, my nose is digging into the string, and I start putting face pressure on the string.
Makes sense.
So to get me to quit that, put a spiky nose button on it.
Stop.
Yep, exactly.
Didn't think of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never tried one of those. I know they're out there.
I've wanted to try one because that's kind of like you. As soon as my nose touches, that's where
Yeah, and the
Time
good
to
thing is
stop.
if I dig my nose in too much, I'll start bleeding because my nose is a sissy. So maybe that's my
Put
form
that spike
of
on there.
just,
yeah.
oh, bleed. Nate. But okay, so face pressure is
Face
huge
pressure is a
issue.
huge one,
Okay.
and then we can go to front hand grip too. And it kind of depends on the bow, what they like, right? Each bow has a different grip.
Mhm.
They're their own monster. But as far as a general rule of thumb, if you want to know what a grip should look like, I get the best performance out of all of them across the board from putting the center of the grip in the lifeline of your hand, which is this skinny part between the fat part of your thumb and the fat part of your hand.
Yep.
Cocking those knuckles out at 45 and
Mhm.
dropping heel pressure into it. And so you're almost like you were going to push against a wall. That's exactly how you would hold a bow. Drop your fingers around the front of the riser and put a little pressure on them. Just keep the bow there. That's it. If I get guys to do that, generally bows will tune up pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's got a lot to do with keeping the thumb out of it. Because a lot of guys want to wrap and get that thumb curled around, and all you're
Mhm.
doing is torquing that bow left and
Just
right.
grabbing
Right.
it.
Yep.
Maybe not even realize you're doing it.
Yep.
That was one thing Doug taught me a lot about that.
Yeah, he harped on me too.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, you need to move it over just a little bit more or whatever.
Yeah, and he would kind of tell me, which, if you just kind of get those fingers where they're on
Yeah,
the
you
riser,
just get 'em where
but
they-
you're not-
where they're
you're
touching.
grabbing, And then the nice thing is once you learn your bow, if you're a little bit off, sometimes you can actually give yourself a little pressure, a little knot up top, up bottom, and just maybe a little adjustment here and there for you, without like on the fly instead of I can't be there to tune it for you. Maybe that is a fix, which obviously you don't want to be grabbing the bow, but that was huge for me because once
Yep.
again I just learned. And actually, now I remember one of the biggest things Russell did not like about his Bowtech Rain 6 was his grip.
Yeah.
He messed with that grip, And that was one of the things that him and that bow just never got along.
Yeah, and
As soon
sometimes
as
the
he
grip
left it, he found that Matthews that was like, oh, I like this.
And sometimes the grip on the bow is a problem. And that's why companies like Matthews offer different grip styles and side plates and all this stuff. And I end up putting, as funny as it sounds, I put tread tape on my grips on the Hoyts.
Do you?
Yep, I run tread tape down the bottom, and it eats my hand up for the first 2 weeks, but then my hand gets used to it, work up some calluses, and it sticks. So,
yeah, and I've never really noticed, like, I mean.
Sometimes I could feel like, man, it just feels like it's going to kick out or something if you got
I have
too
a
much
problem
on that
slipping
pad.
up.
Do you?
Yep.
Yeah, I just feel like, because I was real bad about putting it right there and not more in the middle, and it would feel like it would almost want to kick out sometimes.
Yeah.
So then you'd try to grip it more, and then you're torquing it, and it goes to shit. So.
Yeah.
And I should say that's part of, I guess, plug the shop again here. That's part of what we do here when it comes to a new bow setup is like, it's a new grip, it's a new bow, it's a new platform. Let's learn it. And so when we go to paper, on every bow we send out here, we go to paper with it. When we go to paper, if I'm seeing something weird through the bow, we're going to work on grip and face pressure. You have to, otherwise the bow doesn't leave here right. So it's kind of part of the setup. Again, if you have a good shop, that's what they should do, is work with you on that and make sure that you're not putting input into the bow that's giving a false reading through paper that's going to give you false arrow flight when you get home.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because, I mean, the last thing you want as a bow shop is for somebody to leave here and then the bow sucks and the first thing they go is
disappointed 2 days
they
later.
messed it up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the last thing you want because you know that you didn't mess it up, but if you can't verify they're shooting correctly or the bow's shooting correctly, then can you really say that you fixed their bow? Right? Just like a mechanic. I mean, if I can't verify the oil is fresh, then how can I say I gave you an oil change? Like, it's the same thing, right? So I totally get that. It makes sense because those people might not be shooting correctly, and then they automatically just blame the bow when it's you suck.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes the setup sucks,
it's
too.
hard. You probably won't say it that way to them. Hey,
Yeah.
let me help you with this.
Yeah.
Be like, dude, you suck. No. That's a good way to lose customers, I'm sure. But
well, and part of this is I've stamped my name on this as I'm the sole owner of this place. Everything that leaves here's got my name on it, right? And so I'm held to that, regardless of what I want to do. It's got to leave here right, and if I see it back and it's not right, I did something wrong, so.
Well, and it just gives people peace of mind. Like for me, we talked about it on Saturday, and I doubt he listens to this, so I shouldn't be ruining a Christmas present. But my 12-year-old is going to get a bow for Christmas. We're buying him an Elite Ember. And I know that when he gets it, I'm going to bring him in, and he's going to get set up.
Yep.
And he's, we'll teach him as best we can to shoot, but he's going to get set up. And as his dad, I know that he'll at least have all the tools to succeed as an archer, right off the bat. Now, he's going to have to put in a lot of work, but the bow will be straight. He'll learn how to do it correctly. It'll be sized to him, at least when he leaves here, and then within a year I'll be back because they grow like weeds. But that's a good thing. It's a good thing about the Ember, right? It grows with them. But I'm going to talk after, unless you have another opinion. But, like which one I should get them.
No, I think that Ember's a fine choice. As a matter of fact, I would say as far as youth bows go, it's the best built. And
grows for, like my 14-year-old. I mean, we just.
So here's the deal about youth bows. A lot of youth bows have plastic parts on them, and I hate it.
Yeah, I can
like,
see that.
It's just.
They're just cheap. They're cheaper.
The Ember is the only one that I know of that is an actual youth bow in that price range that does have aluminum mods and aluminum stops, actual bearings in it.
Yeah, looks like a real bow.
The real stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. They do a good job with it.
And it can grow as, like my 14-year-old who now has a 27.5-inch draw. I was just in here less than a year ago with him, last November, I believe. And he's already, changed, and it's just easy to keep going with him. And then as he gets even taller, hopefully, it'll keep doing it. And at some point, maybe he grows out of it and we move into something else. But maybe it's where I'm not dealing with it anymore. Maybe it's his turn. But
well, he's got up to 60 pounds at 29 inches with it.
Yeah,
so.
I mean,
a lot of play in there.
He's got a lot of play. Yeah. So, but the nice thing is, like with Chase, I know that he's going to be set up well, and he'll be ready to succeed. Instead of me trying to, that's the nice thing about the Ember. They talk about how easily adjustable it is. Well, I could do it at home. Sure, I could. I don't know if it's right. And I don't know if I'm got you set up, buddy. Let's go out shooting. He's just like, I don't want to be. I want his new car to run correctly the first time he ever uses it.
Right.
And so, like, my goal is, whenever I order the bow from you and get it, he's gonna open it, and then he won't be shooting it for a while until we come in and see you.
Sure.
And then we'll get everything set up. But
on
that's
that
just my
bow in
idea.
particular, and this might be a little bit into the weeds, but on that bow in particular, and a lot of youth bows, timing is crucial, like more crucial than on most.
Really?
Which is funny to think about. But youth bows in general, with that big draw length swing, a little bit of string stretch one way, or cable stretch rather, one way or another, makes up a lot of timing difference. Like a half twist in the cable on one of those youth bows will change the timing crazy. Where on like one of the flagship bows, it won't. I mean, it'll change it a little bit, but not crazy.
I can see that.
So on those youth bows, it's absolutely important that those get set up correctly. Otherwise, it's a nightmare.
I can see that
Yep.
for sure.
Makes sense.
Okay, so face pressure, grip. I always hear about like punching the string or punching the trigger, things like that. So that's something I did for a while because I didn't know any different. Once again, Frank might have tried to tell me to do something, and I was like, I'm not listening. But Doug definitely like got into me and was like, dude, you kind of punched it on that one. And so there's all kinds of different releases out there. There's trigger releases, there's back tension, there's thumb releases. We can talk about what you like.
Okay.
But what do you see from release standpoints, what people struggle with?
I would say first and foremost that I see about 90% of serious bow hunters punch the trigger.
I would say that's probably correct.
And that's not to say you can't be accurate that way. There's professional archers that punch the trigger and
Yeah.
shoot it well. Tim Gillingham, one of them.
Yeah. Is he he's not the dude that also like he's like really leans back too, but he's like amazing. He's a professional archer. What's his name?
Maybe. I
Like
wouldn't know.
the form was a little bit like
Sure.
like most people don't shoot this way, but this guy's like hell yeah, and he's just amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
Maybe so, but and there's guys that shoot a punch style really well, and generally the guys that know how to shoot a hinge or a surprise release on any release aid can punch the trigger and be fairly accurate. It's about knowing how to have a surprise shot and then replicating that in a shot that you can control. Aside from that, the biggest hunting release ever and still is a finger trigger, an index finger.
Still, that's what I shoot.
Still what I shoot.
Yep.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah.
There's more guys going to the thumb these days. One thing I do say, and maybe this
It's
is
the new popular thing. I would almost say like
Yeah.
like I feel like it's don't take this the wrong way, listeners. I'm not saying this. It's the new cool thing.
it is.
Like I'm a loser for having a trigger release now almost. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm wearing the Jinko jeans.
And that might
you
be
got the
coming back
American Eagles
around.
on.
Yeah.
That
But-
might be coming back around. There's some guys on the internets, some influencers that are going back to the
Yes.
index fingers and things like that. And that's all fine and dandy. Here's what I will say about the subject. I do see, so we've all grown up shooting shotguns and BB guns and the rest of it, and we're really used to using this finger as
Correct. Yep.
a punching device. Like, there it is, bang,
Boom.
make it go off, right?
I'd like to know what the poundage is on a Red Rider, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pull that thing.
So one way to counteract that is to switch your activation finger from your trigger finger to your thumb. This finger moves a whole lot slower, and you have to think about it when you go from a trigger finger to a thumb, right? So that can delete some target panic for some guys. I know some guys that had super bad target panic with an index finger and went to a thumb, and it went away because now they have to think about pulling through the shot with their thumb because it's different. You don't activate anything with this thing hardly, right? So it's a different function. I shoot a thumb button. I shoot a thumb button for 3D, so I don't see any reason to switch for hunting.
Right.
As handy as it would be to have something around my wrist, I'm used to it. That's what I
Can
shoot.
be annoying too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess we're talking about mistakes with archery, right? I would encourage everybody to learn how to shoot a hinge release. I think if you can learn how to shoot a hinge release, you can shoot any of the other trigger releases really well.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I think you need to know what a surprise shot feels like and know what it should look like when it goes off, and then I think you can duplicate that in a thumb button, and that's what I try to do. I shoot a hinge pretty much all summer, and get really, really comfortable with it and shoot it well. And then when I transition to a button, I'm used to adding pressure, and that thing goes off like it should, like a surprise shot. And sometimes it's not surprise, sometimes it has to happen now, but it's still pulling through like like a surprise shot would be without punching
Yeah.
it, right? And there's some nuances to all that, and some guys that do it well both ways. But
Well, I was going to ask you how many people with the trick. So the issue I ran into, and Doug found this, it's just funny. Well, you don't notice things until you get somebody who
Knows what they're doing.
knows what they're doing. Now, this is years ago, but I was shooting for Doug, checking my bow, and I didn't realize that, like, I really reached my finger for my trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So, number one, I was just doing this, which is putting pressure downward instead of backwards, and also pulling it like a trigger because I had no other option. So, Doug took me through everything, taught me how to, like, get it to where I was wrapping the finger, and I like it in this first crevice. And then instead of using it at all, I'm using my back muscles and I'm using my tension.
Yep.
And that's what's that's what's setting my trigger release off. Is not my trigger finger whatsoever. That's just the activating feature. Once I kind of learned to shoot that way, it, like, totally changed everything for me. But do you see a lot of people that use trigger releases that the length is so off of what it should be?
Oh, yeah, way long.
Just assuming it's
they're all long.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
I've hardly run into a guy that actually wraps his finger around it.
Well, you don't think about it. Like, once again, if you don't know any better, you just don't think about it. You just
Yeah.
need to be able to reach it, right? So I need to be able
Right.
to reach it and go like this.
Yep.
And
I've got one guy that uses me quite a bit. He's from Columbia, and he's an actual senior known pro on the ASA circuit, and he shoots an index finger. And I've learned a lot about shooting an index finger from him. His name's Paul Wilson. He shoots it well, shoots it real well, and he wraps sometimes. Like, he has several different styles. Sometimes he adds pressure from the top and lets it pull itself that way. He has different release styles he's worked on and customized to get him to shoot right for him. And so he's been shooting archery forever. He's a guy I pull a lot of information from, and he shoots it really well. That being said, like, if you want to talk at a local level, local legends, guys that shoot 3D locally that do a really good job, or even guys that shoot 3D nationally that do a really good
you're
job.
embarrassing me. Stop.
Generally, all those guys shoot a hinge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you see all the time.
And
Like,
that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I can sit here and name drop all day. Frank being one of them. Hunter Hogan's a buddy of mine. He shoots a hinge. We had Paige Pearson here one night shooting league with us. She's the #1 woman archer in the world.
well, who's the girl from Lexington? That's
Leanne Drake.
Leanne Drake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure she shoots a hinge.
Yeah.
Like,
She
I mean,
shoots it
they
here
all
sometimes
do.
too. So.
Yeah.
So that's just a thought for everybody at home. Everybody that's really good at this sport knows how to shoot a hinge. You could set one down in front of them, they could pick it up and shoot it.
So I guess the best thing, if you're a new to bow hunting, maybe not listen to your buddy and maybe try that hinge first and then go from there.
Yeah, so there might be some nuance to that. I don't know that the hinge is the ideal hunting release.
Sure.
And there's guys that use it and use it well. And if you can get good with one, you can use it. And I've hunted with one in the past. I killed an antelope with one in Montana. That all being said, for a new archer, no. I think it's a training tool.
Okay.
I think that's what you pull out all summer and you shoot it and you learn to shoot it. And then when it becomes hunting season, you try to mimic that in the release you're going to hunt with. I think that's the route. That's the route I
Yeah.
take generally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is be able to pick that thing up and shoot it, know how it functions,
Yep.
and duplicate it on a release that you can actually fire.
And put yourself in high stress. Like, this isn't. I mean, everyone's going to be different in a high stress situation, so that's hard to duplicate that. But, like, I know Andy. We talked about this one time. He was shooting a thumb release, and does he still, or did he go back to trigger?
I don't know.
Shooting a thumb release. Shot it all summer. All the different 3D stuff we went to. Messing with each other. That was when he broke his Athens.
I wasn't at that
Remember
one.
Athens archery?
Yep.
He broke one at like a week before we left for Colorado at the Marshall Bud shoot.
Gotcha.
Just in the middle of pull, he was like, "That was a weird sound," and we're all like, "Yeah, that was."
That was
and he
your
shoots,
limbs.
and his arrow just goes. "Stoop,"
Can't get parts for those
and he
anymore.
broke his limbs. Yep.
Yeah.
That was back when they were still in business or whatever the deal is. But anyway, shot it all year, and then gets this beautiful buck in front of him during archery season, and the pulse starts going up, everything starts going up, and he buried that thing in his palm, and he goes to pull back, and like nothing's happening, and he was like, and he had just buried it to the point where it wasn't the way he was supposed to be shooting it anymore. Yep. And he ends up just like squeezing that thing, and also pushing forward to try to like make it go off, and he shoots the deer in the shoulder, and we looked for that thing for 2 days, and a couple days later the neighboring property saw him on camera, so he lived.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like that situation got him so flustered that like it wasn't as natural as he had hoped, right? And so
there's only one remedy for that, and that's reps.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And I'm not saying your buddy did anything wrong.
No, definitely.
No, he definitely didn't take his reps that he needed to.
That year for sure, he did.
And he's pretty bad about shooting.
That year he did, though. Lately, we haven't, for sure. Lately, but
and I'm guilty of it too.
But it's like one of them deals where even if you're taking those reps, how can you put yourself in a high-stress situation? And this is kind of my plug for 3D shoots.
Yes, I would agree.
Like, number one, you see different targets.
Mm-hmm.
You see different angles, so you find out if your third axis is fucked up easier. And then also if you go with your buddies, which is what we did. Like, we didn't go to win. We didn't even turn our scores in 99% of the time.
To play against each other.
Yep.
We had our little group.
And we would talk to each other while we were shooting. We would put, pressure on each other. It was just kind of like that was a way to put yourself out of your comfort zone instead of like every night I go out, I shoot that deer at 25 yards, then I go back to 35. Same thing every night. It's going to be different in a hunting situation. So 3D for me was really important.
And so I glossed over that for myself too, but the whole reason I got into tournament archery was to be a better hunter. And I think there's a lot of us that did that.
Yep.
And so Missouri is a great place to shoot 3D archery. We have a lot of clubs, and they put on awesome shoots.
Yep.
Sedalia has one, Cole Camp has one, Carrollton has one, Jeff City has one. There's a bunch down in Springfield.
The Reinhardt
Marshall.
100.
Marshall's a good one.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shoots available, and if anybody's looking for that information, if you go to Facebook and you type in Missouri 3D Shoots, they've got a page, and it'll come up, and you can like or follow that page, and they post a schedule every year. We do a few out here from time to time too, so check that out.
Yeah, Frank used to have one right there by the airport in Warrensburg when Evolved was still around.
Yep.
We'd go twice a year. I think he did it twice a year at that time. We'd go twice a year and just mess with each other, and like I said, it was bragging rights. I think actually whoever got last had to buy dinner for everybody. Was our initial.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That was kind of
did
cool. We'd go to Chinese after, and whoever lost was the one that would buy it, or somebody. Whoever won maybe got it for free. I can't remember. But
yeah, because that would have been a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'm sure we were probably just whoever won.
Broke asses.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like it was bragging rights, and it was a way to practice.
Yep.
And some of the shots, like Carrollton, I remember Carrollton's got some pretty nice steep shots, and it was just like it was mimicking Colorado for us.
Sure.
And we would do things at home. Like I remember, I would run around the house twice, and then you'd have 10 seconds to take a shot after you pick your bow up because like you get up on top of a ridge and you're huffing and puffing, and then an elk walks out. Like you've got this much time to maybe take a shot or get down on your knees, sit on your ass, like different ways that you might have to shoot in a hunting situation that it's not always just standing there perfectly like you want to be.
Yeah.
But that's just more like practice. What do you call it? Tips than it is, mistakes people make. But I think a big mistake would be shooting the same target every day, which is a good thing, all summer, and expecting it to be the same when you see an animal in front of you.
Yeah, because it's completely different. And the other thing is the angle at which you're shooting from. A lot of guys don't know this. Maybe they do. There's more information out there now than there used to be. But shooting downhill and uphill, yardage cuts come into play.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that the hard way on a mule deer hunt a week ago. Like, shooting downhill, you got to cut yardage. And there's a few good ways to figure out how to do it, but you really need to shoot it to verify.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's some rangefinders that'll cut it for you.
Thank God for those.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
But a lot of times they're not right.
And that's why going to those and verifying is important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can do that at a 3D.
Yep.
At some of them. Some of them have flatter stuff. Some of them have hills. But you can check all that stuff. And there's a long list of other things that a guy can check at a 3D shoot. But
or you could do it like Russell used to do, get up on his roof.
Yeah.
Which I maybe don't recommend for everybody, but that's like he used to get up on his roof and shoot
We used to
down.
shoot off mine.
Yep, I remember that now.
Yeah.
And just to kind of mimic that sort of stuff, maybe we didn't have time to go to a shoot that year or something, but like practicing when you walk out of here is kind of, maybe the biggest mistake people make is they don't do it.
Right. One more thing I would say.
It's set up, so I'll just, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing I would say on the release side of things is something that ties hand in hand in that is back wall pressure. So each release will make you pull into that back wall a little differently, different back wall pressure. And there's a lot of guys that are inconsistent on it. I'm one of them. Depending on what release I'm shooting will dictate how much back wall pressure I have in the bow. And that bow will perform different as far as impact on how much back wall pressure you have in it. It'll tune different.
Sure.
So that's something to work on to be consistent with. My part-time guy, Zach, he deserves a plug on this release talk because that guy shoots a hinge religiously. He's in Montana right now hunting mule deer, and he's shooting a hinge. The dude is consistent, like one of the most consistent hinge shooters I've ever seen.
Really?
It's dang impressive, man. When he came out here for the first time and we talked and I hired him, he's been with me for 3 years. Not 3 years. He's been with me for 2 years. We're going on 3 in the shop. I was blown away with how consistent he could be with a hinge. Like,
Nice.
It is repetition every time. He's like a machine. There's some struggles with that. We've had some tuning issues with his stuff because of too much back wall pressure. He's pulling into the bow. I wouldn't say too much, but enough to cause issues through paper where if he's not perfectly consistent with it or the cam lean's not showing it in the drawboard, it'll show it with him. Yeah. Yep. So that's one guy when it comes to hinge shooting I pull from too. And he's younger than me and he hasn't been around as long as I have. But, man, the kid shoots a hinge release freaking
He
awesome.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I've got him behind the counter in this bow shop most days, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like to find that guy.
Right.
You know,
That's important.
yeah.
I'm sure it's hard to find. I mean, how many guys do you have work here? Just you?
Just
and
me
him?
and Zach.
Just
yeah.
you and Zach.
And
okay.
and so I hired a guy while I was going on this mule deer hunt, Kendrick, and he helped us out. Good dude, also a really good shooter. That was a temporary thing for him. He helped us out. He's going to move on to something else. But 9 times out of 10, it's me and Zach here, and that's how and Frank. I should mention Frank.
Frank helps. Yeah, he came in Saturday.
Frank comes by and helps out a bunch, and I owe him a lot for that. Having him in here to still help, because I've been in this industry now for 12 years or something like that, and I'm still learning every day.
Still a baby.
Right, and so
Are you 30 yet?
No.
Screw you. I know because you got
Not
little
quite.
ones, but
Yeah,
I'm like, I
real
know they're
close.
little.
real close, but not quite. So Frank's in here, and so being able to pull from him on a weekly basis and still learn, right? Like we're all still learning in this. Just because I'm the guy behind the counter doesn't mean I know everything about this. I try to keep my foot on the gas and my finger on the pulse and make sure that I'm ahead of the game on what's coming out, how to work on it, how to get it right, and know the tips and tricks. And guys like Frank and we've got pro shooters around here, like Eric Camp and Toby Wilcoxon and Hunter Hogan and Paul Wilson and all these. I could name drop for days, but they're all guys that I pull from. Frank being the top guy.
Makes sense.
Yeah, because you have to, right? Like,
Why wouldn't you?
how could you sit behind the counter and confidently tell each and every guy that walks in here, and we're talking thousands of guys a year, that I know exactly what I'm talking about if I
Right.
don't have those dudes to call.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I've talked to Doug too. You mentioned Doug several times. Me and Doug have had long conversations in this shop about bow tuning and this, that, and the other, and
Why would
string
you not
building.
talk to somebody like that?
Dude, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some of these, well, I can't talk about it, but he doesn't like us to talk about. But I mean, some of these things we're looking at, he has his hands in. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, it's just, yeah. If you have those people to ask those questions, it'd be like, I mean, I don't know. It'd be like being a basketball player and not wanting to talk to Michael Jordan.
Yeah. No, exactly.
What?
Exactly.
It doesn't make no sense.
I guess back to what I was saying is it's me, Zach, and then Frank when he volunteers his time. And so what's really cool about that is I learned from Frank, and there's a lot of guys that have a lot of confidence in Frank around here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pull my knowledge from him, always have. And so then Zach has learned from me for the last 2 years, and Frank being in this shop too. So Zach's took to it like a sponge, man.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kid can shoot. He shoots better than I do. He shoots on a semi-pro level. And he's a couple good tournaments from turning. Like, he's going to turn the corner here soon.
Nice.
And we'll know his name.
It's Zach.
Yeah, and I have full confidence in that. And so he's great. I can leave this whole shop to him when I'm
Yeah.
going hunting.
I'm pretty sure he worked on Caden's bow last year.
Yeah.
Because
And
you
I
were
have,
slammed again, and he was the one who worked on it at first. And
I have absolutely zero reservations about what he puts out of here,
That's awesome.
which is nice.
Which is
for me.
important. You don't want to
No,
be
that's
like the one in
huge.
here that is
Yeah.
doing the good stuff, and then like your 7 employees, you're
Yeah.
just like, oh shit.
And I've had this conversation with him, and I've told him, I said, man, if I can't feel good about what's going on here when we're busy, I'll close the doors when we get too busy. Like, I'll lock them, and we'll take care of what's here, and we'll
Right.
open back up when we're done.
Right.
because I don't want that out there.
That rush.
Yep.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because
Yep.
you don't want to. You don't want your stuff to go out. But back to releases. So there's all kinds of releases out there, brands, types, whatever. I'm guessing, you've got an assortment of different ones people can buy. I'm guessing it's just based on what they feel comfortable shooting. If they want a wrist release, or if they want a back tension release or a thumb release or whatever else is out there at this point. Did I get them all?
Yeah, sure.
What feels comfortable? Now,
Yeah.
you just mentioned, learning on a hinge would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But, some people have already been shooting for a while. Maybe they shoot, trigger releases, whatever. I have my personal opinion that, I will never not buy this type of release when it comes to my trigger releases. But that's just because it's what I learned on. It's what Doug taught me, the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of ways. There's straight out. There's swept back.
Yeah.
There's some of the back tension ones make noise. Is that?
Yep. They have clicks in them.
Clicking. Yeah.
Yep.
Some of the thumb releases have different pressures. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. All kinds of rabbit holes you can go down.
Sure. So just on a super high level here, as far as index fingers go, I see cleaner breaks from a hook style. A lot of guys are nervous about that because it
I was too.
It doesn't actually close around the D loop. I would venture to say that it is quicker on the D loop when it comes time, and it is cleaner off the D loop. And so I tend to gravitate towards that hook style if I'm shooting an index, or anybody that's looking for one. I try to push them into that hook style.
That's what I switched to.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott makes some good dual caliper stuff and single caliper stuff that works well. But if we can get into that hook style release, it's in the long run, it's an easier tune job, easier broadhead flight. It's easier on the string, and the time, it's good all the way around.
It's more fun to play with when you're walking and
Sure.
messing with it.
Sure. And so all the hinges and mainly all the thumb buttons are all hook styles as well. And so I think it's a good idea to look at the tournament side of things, because that's where the guys are getting the accuracy, and try to move, maybe adapt or adopt some of that into the hunting side of things. And the industry does a good job of pushing that way. But as bow hunters, we can all look at tournament archery and say, okay, those guys are all shooting hook style stuff. Why?
It's got to be a reason.
Those guys tend to shoot longer axle bows just a little better. Why? Not everything. You don't want to take a tournament bow to the woods that's loud and noisy and
shiny as hell.
Yeah. There's some caveats there, but just going back to what we said, it's if you can say, well, these guys shoot this really well and they all shoot it at top level, if we can transition some of that into the hunting side of things, you'll see some gains there too.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else that we need to talk about?
Mistakes.
Shooting
wise. We can talk about other stuff, but
yeah. We talked about trajectory. I think that's a giant one. Ranging errors. We talked about vane noise a little bit. That's huge. We talked about how to practice. Maybe we didn't go into the weeds far enough on that, and I don't really have the answer. I think owning and shooting a 3D target's huge.
I agree.
Shooting spots is different than shooting a spot on an animal.
100%.
Right.
Yep.
And I think most guys get nerves because they have that dead space underneath the animal that they're worried about missing in,
Mm-hmm.
which when you have a block sitting on the ground, you don't have that. So maybe you elevate your block on a table where you have that miss underneath. I think a lot of guys struggle with oh, it's down there, and then push it up out the top.
Yeah.
I've seen that in my own stuff. That's the reason I say that.
Mm-hmm.
So owning a 3D target's huge. Or going to 3D tournaments. Maybe if you can't afford one, go to 3D tournament, shoot 3D targets.
Yeah.
That was a great.
Get on Facebook too. You can find cheap ass old 3D targets.
Yeah, they might be beat to heck.
They might be beat to shit, but
You can find them.
it'll do the job.
Sure.
For a year or two for you.
Sure.
The marketplace does have them. Like I said, I bought. How many did we buy from John that year?
Like 6 or 7. I
6,
think.
7. A
Mhm.
couple. 6, 7. Gosh, the freaking kids today. 2 wolves and a deer, and I don't remember what we had. It was
Some
a bunch of
bears,
different stuff that
some
he had.
bears, yeah.
A couple bears. Yeah, I remember that. But it was obviously a bear is different than a whitetail, but it was just cheap enough that we're like,
As long as it's on legs and it's up
Yeah.
off the ground, I think
Yeah.
you're doing the trick there.
Was one of them standing?
Yeah, Andy got the one that was standing.
Yeah, we kept
so
shooting
it
him in
was
the
like
dick.
standing
That's right.
facing
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like, I agree though. Having a deer in front of you, obviously it's not perfectly to scale, but it's a little different. It helps you look at the anatomy. Once again, it's not exactly like a deer looks, but it makes you think of that sort of stuff when you're shooting. And I think it's important. Or even if you just have a bag target, you could paint a deer on it. Russell we used to take hay bales. Yeah, we used to take hay bales, put them next to each other, and he would paint an elk.
Right.
Spray paint an elk on it and use that as his target before we went out, for a few weeks. And I used to take hay bales. I used to make my father-in-law leave me one every year, and I would put dots on it. And that's kind of what I would start with, and then I would move to my other things.
Sure.
That way, if I missed, I didn't lose my arrow.
Right.
It was kind of like, okay, now I'm good to go. Now I'll move to something else. But
right.
It was a cheap way to use a big ass target.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Mistakes I've made, just real quick. I don't know how much more time we got, but ranging errors has been a big thing for me. I've made a few. I watched Frank make one. The next is shot angles. Man, I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories or I've seen it with myself once or twice now where you shoot a deer out of a tree stand, or you're on a downhill on a mule deer hunt or antelope or whatever, or elk, whatever the case may be, and that you end up higher than what you think you should have been because of the shot angle. You shoot downhill, mostly out of a tree stand. We're always shooting downhill. Is when you tilt that window up out of a tree stand, you're narrowing that window. And so I've seen a lot of guys clip the first lung and just dart the second one right through the middle, and that deer will run and run and run. So keeping that first point of contact low coming out of a tree stand is a good thing. You don't want to be so low that you clip and miss underneath, but a lot of guys shoot over that first lung. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
And that could be the deer ducking or ranging errors or whatever, but I see that a lot. Is there any questions you guys have about bows, technology these days, industry moving one way or another?
You kind of said it earlier. A lot of them they're all real good.
Really?
Most bow companies, yeah.
So I think.
Have you ever heard of a Dart and Technology bow? What was that hilarious video going around on the different bow companies? They had like a saying, and it was a guy making fun of everybody. And then the next guy would be like, "Did you know all bows have Dart and Technology?" I don't know.
It's a funny deal. It's
I'd
true.
have to find it for you. It'd
it's
be funny
true
if you
to a
saw it.
certain extent. Darton did hold a lot of the patents for a lot of years on a lot of these bows, and for whatever that's worth, they make a good bow now. I really like their new line.
You have some Dartons in
I
here.
do,
But
yeah.
pretty sure.
So
So you carry Elites, Hoyts, Matthews, Bowtech, and
Darton, and Expedition.
So pretty much all the big fellas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't think
Just
of
come shoot
another
'em.
one.
You gotta shoot. I mean,
You gotta-
I'm a firm
yeah,
believer,
shooting 'em.
you gotta figure out which one you like the most.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, and I lean a certain way. Maybe for just feel because I'm used to it at this point. I think the Hoyts do a good job with durability, like a real good job with durability. I've put some of them Hoyts through some stuff, man, that I didn't think they were going to come out the other side, and they still hit the dot when I got back. So it's like, okay, good enough. Tuning tech's coming around on all these bows. Elite started with it with the set technology. Matthews has it now. Darton has one. Hoyt's still holding out with their spacer stuff, but we might see a change there at some point. So it's all moving in a good direction. I like the bows, man. I think it's cool. Yeah. Every year at drop, I'm like a kid on Christmas.
They're fun. They are fun.
Yeah,
you gotta watch yourself though. I mean, I can't be one of those guys to get one every year.
Me?
Sure.
No, me personally, that's
I
difficult.
just can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see where the allure is. Just
absolutely. And I make the argument to guys all the time that it might not be an every year deal, because I get guys that come in here and buy bows every year or whatever. But every 3 or 4, man, they make a big jump. It seems like, and so that's cool. And if you're picking one of the top brands like what we sell here, they generally hold their value pretty good too. So.
Right.
Yeah, and you can always get a bow sold.
Sure.
Someone my size, your size can eat. Now Andy, 32.5 inches at left-handed. He's going to have a harder time.
He's going to sit on it for a little.
He's going to sit on it for a little while, but that's his own damn fault.
Well, and the guys that use me will tell you this too. Like, you'll never hear from me, no, that bow won't work.
Right.
I'm always the guy that's like, man, we can
We'll
get this thing back to right.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a bow you like and you've killed a lot of stuff with. And you
I'll bring you just the biggest piece of shit and see if you can get it running. What's that one? The old Reflex. The old Reflex by Hoyt. Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
That was my very first bow, actually, technically. And I think I got rid of it. I might have given it to Corbin back in the day. If I still have that, I'd have been like, see if we can get that.
Man, I've done them all, strings and cables on stuff from steel cable bows back in Bear Whitetail 2s. And,
gosh.
And Oneidas and all of it.
So the Reflex is that's no big deal.
Yeah, that's mid-range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
You'd be surprised what some of the guys are still shooting around here.
I bet.
Well, and more power to them because there was guys that killed deer and elk and everything else with those bows long before we were ever bow hunting, right?
Yep.
So
it's once again, it's what makes you feel. What do you feel good shooting? Like I said, I just got a new bow. That Assassin, I shot it for a decade because I didn't want to switch.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Here's what I will say.
So,
just in general here, a good aftermarket custom set of strings and cables can make a world of difference.
Yeah, I would say so.
To the point where if we were to have this conversation 10 years ago, I would be the guy telling you, as soon as you buy a bow off the shelf, trash the strings and put a custom set of strings and cables on there.
Really?
I'm not that guy anymore because they've come around.
They've upped their game on their strings.
They have. String building has become a little bit better quality is common practice now.
Right.
That being said, on my personal stuff, I take this factory set off immediately, put it in a baggie, and that's my backup set that goes out west with me.
Makes sense.
I tie peep in it, tie D-loop on it, get the height set, put it in a baggie, and then set the aftermarket set up on the bow.
Just in case.
Right. The difference there between a factory set of strings and an aftermarket set of strings is going to be, number one, stretch rates. We just don't quite know most of the time what these factory strings and cables are using for string material. And there's some material that stretches more than others and some that is more stable than others. And so you kind of run the mix of like what your bow is it, who's making it, who's the string builder they're using to build those strings. Whereas like if we go with a company like Threads or Gas or Phantom or any of the companies out there that build custom strings, we generally know what string material it is, and we have somebody to call if that thing stretches crazy.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of accountability there too. So that can work wonders. If a guy's like, man, this bow hasn't shot right in 5 years, well, maybe it's just because the axle's moved and the draw length's not right anymore, the brace height's moved, and so the bow system isn't right anymore, and the cams aren't performing like they should. So
makes sense.
That would be another mistake. I like to see guys replace strings faster than they need them, because when you need them, you really need them.
Yeah. On your average,
like the last sec. Oh, shit.
Your average hunter / shooter, how often do you think?
How often's a guy shooting during the summer?
Hopefully every day.
Well, here's the deal.
We'll say twice a week.
Okay. So I would say you should be able to get a season to 2 seasons out of a set of strings.
Okay.
And here's why I say that. Shooting in the summertime might be the hardest thing on them. You're shooting in the heat, and the wax that's already embedded in those fibers is working out of the fibers. And then when the wax does that, and you get done shooting and the wax cools on the outside of the string, and you put it in the case, next time you pull it out, that wax is attracting dirt because it's on the outside of the string again. And when you shoot that bowstring with the dirt on it, it's getting grit and grind into each fiber of that bowstring. So that's one reason. The next is stretch. Like if you really want to stretch a set of strings, that's a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Stretch a set of strings.
Yeah.
Shoot out in the heat and work that string set while it's 100 degrees.
Okay.
We've all done it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you have to, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it, and that's why on my personal...
Well, there is one way around it.
Yeah,
well,
come shoot inside.
I guess we are sitting in a 50-yard range. Yeah. That's 71 degrees right now.
Very nicely climate controlled.
Yeah.
So I'm an every season type guy. I put a set of strings on the bow probably in March, and I'll shoot that set of strings, and as long as everything's looking good by August, I'll leave it on. If I've got some serving separation somewhere or a strand cut from tying a peep in too many times or whatever, then I'll switch them. But it's usually a season for me. I probably shoot more than the average guy.
The average person.
Right.
Yeah, I would
so
think so.
I could say a guy could probably stretch that to 2. But if that bow goes from shooting darts and all of a sudden you're can't keep it on a paper plate at 50 yards, and you can't explain the reason why. It's almost 100% because of the string stretch somewhere. Cables or string or whatever. A cam's come out of time or the axle's moved to where it doesn't hold right anymore, whatever the case may be. And that could be fixed by your shop adding twist or taking away twist or putting it back in time or retuning it, or it could be fixed by what we do here, where when you put a new set of strings and cables on, we paper tune it, and we get everything back to spec. So you're starting fresh again.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that.
I like it.
No,
I like it.
makes
Well,
sense.
that makes sense because people leave them on for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and then they start wondering what's wrong, and it
Mhm.
just could be as simple as your strings need to be replaced.
Right.
Kind of like you need new tires.
Right. Exactly.
I keep going back to the mechanic thing.
I know.
It
really,
works
really,
well.
Really going on that
Works
one
well.
this time.
Yeah. Well, oh, crap, I need to go pick up that trailer tire. Anyway, well, okay, before we jump off, Kevin, tell people how they can check out Aerodynamics, where you guys are at,
Yep.
what's your phone number, if you got any social media for Aerodynamics,
Sure.
that sort of
So
stuff.
we're north of Warrensburg, about 12 miles off of H Highway. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. That's the way we like it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an outdoor range and an indoor range here at the shop. If you're in the area and you want to find us, if you Google Aerodynamics on Google, it'll come up with our business page. I try to make it as easy to find. We're on Apple too, Google Maps and all that. We've got a Facebook page, Aerodynamics Archery Pro Shop, and Instagram attached to that. If you want to find the Instagram page, go to the Facebook page. Other than that, if you call the shop phone, it is a cell phone. It'll ring 24 hours of the day, and we're getting to that time of season where
It'll ring.
what I'm saying is we're getting to that time of season where guys need to be able to reach me after hours or before hours. So if you have a mess up, don't hesitate to call. It's on me all the time. The only time I leave it is when I leave it with Zach when I go out west, and I'm back. I'm not leaving again. So just a quick story. 2 years ago, I had a guy come in from South Dakota that was hunting on a outfit up in Lexington from some guys that run an outfitter operation up there that I know.
Yep.
He came in from South Dakota, spent all this money on this trip, and his limbs delaminated on him second day.
Oh, gosh.
And they had a giant, like a 200-inch deer on camera that he was hunting, and he was hitting a scrape every morning. And
I need something.
he called me at 9:30.
Get me a raven now.
No, I'm the wrong guy to call for that. I don't have a single crossbow here.
You got one because you got to fix mine.
Yeah,
My
no.
kids.
I'll fix them all day long. I just won't sell them.
Preach.
So he called me at 9:30. Anyway, long story short, we got new limbs put on his bow. Thank God he brought them with him. Who brings limbs on a hunting trip?
No, I never would.
Nah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't
He
have
had
thought
an
of
extra set and he brought them. It was like perfect.
Smart. Yeah.
Right. So we set him up. We didn't get out here till like 1 o'clock that next day. And that's a guy that now he's in South Dakota and he still calls me and orders stuff from me.
That's
So
perfect. Yeah.
right. So I don't mind answering that dang phone. Call me if there's something that goes on.
That's awesome.
So
And that's Aerodynamics, Aero, ARROW, and then Dynamics, not like aerodynamic. Aerodynamics.
not aeroplanes.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, like I said, we'll link everything on the show, but, check them out. I mean, like I said, Kevin is, the protege of a guy that we trusted with our bows 20 years ago. And, like I said, ran into Frank on Saturday, which is cool, So, it is important to trust the people that are working on your bows, that's for sure. And, this is a awesome new shop. Come check it out if you're not even, in the mood to buy something. Just come shoot.
Come shoot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love guys that come by and talk hunting with me. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Next time we're gonna do that instead of
Yep.
instead
Because
of
we got
Absolutely.
some good stories.
I've
Yeah.
got stories. So
All right. Well, Kevin, thanks for coming on, man.
yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I
Appreciate
appreciate it.
No problem. See you.
Yep.